Listen though, we
Football.
we weren't exactly good faith
Holy
on the
shit.
last one. We are
Hold
too
on, by the
irritable.
Look at this.
Faith and college football.
That's what it opens with. Holy shit. I'm so excited.
So anyway, Jack,
Showdown of
last time we weren't we were supposed to do good faith, right? And last time we weren't too good faith. We were sick
Yeah.
of all of them already, right? So we have to, it's like we haven't
Mhm.
seen Vivek before. We don't know anything about him, All right. So we're not going to make any predictions. We know who the waterbed is.
Yep. Done deal. I'm going to skip the intro.
Yeah, go for it.
Alabama. I'm Megyn Kelly, host of the Megyn Kelly Show
Oh, no.
podcast on SiriusXM.
I'm Eliana
What is
Johnson with the
News
Washington
Nation?
Free Beacon.
And I'm Elizabeth Vargas with News Nation, and we are live on News Nation and the CW. It is make or break time for
The
the candidates
CW?
on this stage right now,
You know what
with the
that is?
primary starting just weeks away. And we have a lot to cover over the next 2 hours. So let's begin with
Now,
tonight's rules.
Liz, who left?
Candidates will have 90.
There's one less.
The guy we always forget and the weird old white guy from
Dude.
North Dakota.
Did they arrange them randomly? Because don't they normally put the most popular candidate in the center?
Maybe Nikki Haley's up there.
She is now. They've been pushing her hard, actually.
Well, there you go.
The
That's why she's
establishment.
there.
Yeah.
I'm surprised Chris Christie's still there.
Nikki Haley could be a very strong Thatcher type leader. Much better than Trump.
I agree.
60 seconds to answer
And she's
questions.
fairly young, too.
60 seconds to give a rebuttal
So she
at
would
the
really,
moderator's
really
discretion.
just
We will
show
also-
Biden's age running against him. Unlike,
Yeah.
I mean, who's this guy? Speaking of young guys, this guy looks like an old guy trying to look young. No, I spiked my hair
The
up. It's
timing-
not a receding hairline.
lights that will indicate when time is up and it's time to stop talking.
Ah,
And the time we have is
Well, he's
critical
already
over the
gritting
next
his
2
teeth and
hours. So
shit,
we
man.
ask
He
the
looked-
audience to please keep your
what did we last see him in where I said he's gnomed down a little? He's gnomed
The
back up
debate
for
with Gavin Newsom.
Gavin Newsom, was it?
Mm.
Oh, here I am thinking of Gavin McGinnis.
Good one.
applause to a minimum.
All right, with that, let's get started.
No clapping. Yeah, good
On
luck.
stage tonight, 4 candidates, all vying to become their party's nominee. And given the state of affairs in our political system right now, one
What
of
does that
you
mean?
might very well do it. Even many Democrats now
What does
admit
that
that
mean?
President Biden is a weak candidate. Just
No
as
doubt.
many Republicans acknowledge that former President Donald Trump's multiple legal troubles could imperil his quest for a second term. All of
Hopefully.
which means one of you could
It's
wind
just
up
funny that, like,
the leader of the
it's like, hey, nobody wants us. We're the B plan. Because like the establishment didn't want Trump to run. If you remember, during they asked him not to announce his
Yeah.
presidential campaign,
I
and then
remember.
he did, and then they bombed in those midterms.
Yeah. I remember.
free world. Having said that, Mr. Trump is nearly 50 points ahead of all of you in the national polls, 29 points ahead in Iowa, where the GOP caucuses are less than 6 weeks away. And so, as Republicans get ready to vote on whether any of you might be preferable to Mr. Trump, we begin with the question of electability. Governor DeSantis, your campaign and its super PAC have spent the most money, had the most high net worth donors, and had a wave of momentum coming into this race after your big re-election win in Florida. You were seen by many as the candidate most likely to consolidate the non-Trump field. But here we are, a month out from the first real votes.
Bro, they just
haven't
constantly
managed
cuck him
to do
every time.
In fact,
They're constantly they're like, look at him. He hates it.
He really does. He wants to be number one. He should be kept from power at all costs. Like, that is an absolute. It should not be put anywhere near.
I think Chris Christie is the best bet because we can distract him with sandwiches and things.
And snacks.
Yeah, just like how with like Biden, it's with ice cream, and then
Yeah.
you have him play fetch with his dog, and he breaks his arm.
And then the dog bites a Secret Service agent because he's a good boy.
Nikki Haley is beating you in New Hampshire and South Carolina now, and closing in on you in Iowa. Not to
Not
mention
surprising for
Trump,
New Hampshire.
who is not
South
only
Carolina's
dominating in the early
interesting,
states,
though.
but is beating you in Florida by over 30 points.
Who's beating who
Is
in
it fair
Florida?
to say, as Senator Tim
Ron
Scott did,
DeSantis is beating her in Florida by 30 points. Is that what she said? I was talking.
by over 30, who is not only dominating in the early states, but is beating you in Florida, not to mention in New Hampshire and South Carolina now, and closing in on you in Iowa. Not to mention Trump, who is not only dominating in the early states, but is beating you in Florida by over 30 points.
Okay.
See how
Trump.
Is it
awkward he
fair to
moved
say,
there?
as Senator Tim Scott did when
Look at
he
him.
dropped
He
out,
fucking hates
that
this.
voters are telling you, not no, but not now?
So we have a great
Ooh.
idea in America that
Ooh.
the voters actually make these decisions.
Oh, but
Not
Oh, is
pundits
he
or
calling in
posters.
from the
I'm
future?
sick of hearing
Like,
about
what
those polls
was
'cause I
that?
remember those polls in November of 2022. They said there was going to be a big red wave. It was going to be monumental, and that crashed and burned. The one place it didn't crash and burn was in the state of Florida.
They all need to
weren't
turn on
predicting
Trump right
that I
here.
would win the way I did, and I won the greatest
Every single one of them.
It's the smart thing to do. Like, really, they should be at this point. People are realizing nobody wants him. Nobody wants anybody. Like, none of them are great. They should just be turning on him. Turn the whole party against him.
Republican victory in the
Liz
history
Cheney
of
tried.
the state of Florida.
Liz Cheney tried.
I'm looking forward to Iowa and New Hampshire. The voters are going to be able to speak, and we're going to earn this nomination. And here's what we need. I am sick of Republicans who are not willing to stand
when he
up
talks,
and fight
don't
back
you
against
always
what the
like
left
imagine a kid trying to play president, you know?
Yeah.
Like in the backyard, you know, he's like, let me tell you.
Always trying to be the leader. Always trying to be the boss.
No. Nobody's around. He's by himself pretending to be the president, and like he's one of those kids, you know?
I think that's an American thing.
Uh-huh.
I don't think anybody wants to be the leader of the country.
There's a Jim Gaffigan joke, and it's like, do you think the Pope imagines as a kid that he's going to be the Pope?
is doing to this country. You've got to be willing to stand strong, and you've got to be willing to beat these people. I'm the only one running for president that has beaten these people on issue after issue. We beat the teachers' unions when we did school choice. We beat Fauci on COVID. We beat George Soros when we removed two of his radical district attorneys. We beat the Democrats on election integrity.
George Soros.
I have delivered results. That's what we
What happened to Disney, though, bro? Did you beat them?
need for this country. And you have other candidates up here like Nikki Haley. She caves anytime the left comes after her, anytime the media comes after her. I did a bill in Florida to stop the gender mutilation of minors. It's child abuse and it's wrong. She opposes that bill.
Notice the escalation of language.
Whoa. Did he say gender mutilation? Did he just invent a word, bro?
Mm-hmm.
Gender mutilation. What?
Notice how extreme the language went, though, from the last one?
Dude, he's so stepped up from the last one. That's crazy. Wasn't the last one more lib, though? Like, who did it? Wasn't it ABC or something?
MSNBC, I think.
Okay. Whoa. Bro, it literally auto-corrected to, like, Somalia female genital mutilation. No, gender mutilation. It literally will not come up. I said, no, I meant gender mutilation. It still went to FGM.
Interesting.
So.
He did make it up.
I mean, if we're banning FGM, I think that's cool. I'm pretty sure it already is banned, though.
Thinks it's fine and the law shouldn't get involved with it. If you're not willing to stand up for the kids, if you're not willing to stand up and say that it is wrong to mutilate these kids, then you're not going to fight for the people back home. I will fight for you.
Nazi here.
And I will win for you.
Did he almost cry at the end?
It certainly sounded like it. But he definitely knows his audience this time. That's News Nation.
No, it went wrong.
News Nation is like further than Fox News. It's like the QAnon psycho news.
I don't know what it is. I thought Newsmax was the other one.
No, there's this one too.
Ambassador Haley, you left government service in 2018 with just $100,000 in the bank. 5 years later, you're reportedly worth $8 million, thanks to lucrative corporate speeches and board memberships. Like,
oh my God, crazy! Would you believe it? This is so stupid. This is the shit they do with like Biden, where all his money came from like these speaking fees, right?
Yeah.
After he was like vice president, he did like all these like you know how much money Obama has made off of like just documentary
so
shit.
Much. Yeah, so much.
And so like she made $8 million after she was a UN representative.
Yeah. No shit.
When her most noteworthy policy is moving the capital of Israel to Jerusalem.
Big oof.
Like, no shit, she's worth $8 million now. Come on.
Yeah. Imagine how much time and money of that came from Israel. Probably a lot of it.
Speaking fees. That's all it is. When they're between running and jobs and stuff. That's what they do to pass time and shit.
Weeks ago, you met with Wall Street heavyweights, including leaders from JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, and BlackRock. Several other billionaire investors are reportedly
capitalism.
You or recently have, all of which comes with expectations. Aren't you too tight with the banks and the billionaires to win over the GOP's working class base, which mostly wants to break the system, not elect someone beholden to it?
Well, thank you. It's great to be here. You know, first I'll tell you, just to respond to Ron, he continues to lie about my record. I actually said
like
his
that she's got the accent she has, you know?
Yeah,
like,
what about
honestly, I think hot take, but like I would rather see her than Hillary as the first woman president. She just seems more American to me because of the accent, you know?
Because it's a little bit southern.
Well, she's fits a stereotype.
Yeah, and that carries a little weight too.
You know, like she's like the southern lass stereotype. You know?
Yeah. I got you.
Bells.
Only talked about gender until the 3rd grade. And I said it shouldn't be done at all, that's for parents to talk about. It shouldn't be talked about with schools. In reference to donors coming on board, look, we will take support from anybody we can take support from. But I have been a conservative fighter all my life. I was a Tea Party candidate when I became governor.
Gross.
We opposed every single
remember when that was the far right fascist branch of Remember when Ted Cruz rose to power, and who was that guy who smoked cigarettes with Obama all the time? They got rid of. He was also an orange man. He cried a lot whenever somebody mentioned small businesses were at risk. Like John Bateman, John Bremen, Leatherman. He was made of leather. Smoked cigarettes with Obama a lot.
Tort reform. We passed one of the toughest illegal immigration laws in the country. We passed pro-life bills. We moved in unemployment from 11% to 3%. We took on the unions, and we took on Obama when it came to the unions, the Syrian refugees, and everything in between. And so I've had a fight. And so as much as Ron says that's not true. But when it comes to these corporate people that want to suddenly support us, we'll take it. But I don't ask them what their policies are. They ask me what my policies are. And I tell them what it is. Sometimes they agree with me, sometimes they don't. Some don't like how tough I am on China. Some don't like the fact that I've signed pro-life bills. Some don't like the fact that I may oppose corporate bailouts. That doesn't matter. That's who I am. And that's why the most conservative grassroots group in the country, Americans for Prosperity.
This guy, look, the Pope's there and he's crying. He's crying. He's crying. The Pope's there. Like he's always crying. He's always crying.
What the fuck?
I told you, man. He's a leather man. See, he's made of leather.
That's so funny.
Look at that, man. That is a couch. That is a couch for a man.
They've got a couch and a waterbed.
Yeah, so he was like him and like Newt Gingrich were like top boys, you know. And then the Tea Party came in, and these guys became irrelevant overnight.
Endorsed me last week.
Well,
because he didn't respond to the criticism. It wasn't about the Parents' Rights and Education Bill.
Oh
It
my
was about
God.
prohibiting
This is
sex
awful.
change operations on minors. They do puberty
That-
blockers. These are
that-
He's
irreversible.
so shit. He's so shit. I hate
That
him
doesn't
so
happen, bro.
much. According to him, it does. According to his standalone
Gender
complex, it does.
relation.
Talk to Chloe Cole. She went through this. Now she's an adult.
Here we
She's
go.
warning against it.
Here we
She
go.
will
He
never
always
be able
has
to have
one
kids again.
anecdotal person that he can say by name.
Every single time.
Weird.
That is what Nikki Haley opposed. She said the law shouldn't get involved in that.
Look at Nikki.
And I
She's
just
like,
ask
what
you,
the
if
fuck
you're
is this
somebody
guy
that's going to
on?
be the president of
Do
the
you see
United
her side
States,
eye?
and you
Yeah, I did. It's very funny. She's like, you're a joke.
can't stand up against child abuse, how are you going to be able to
I
stand
never
up for
said that.
anything? That is the truth.
I
We
never
have it, we
said
have it on
that.
video.
I said
We have
that
it
if
on
you have
video.
to be 18 to get a tattoo, you should have to be 18 to have anything done to
You
change
said
your
the
gender.
law should stay out of it.
We're gonna get to this in more detail later. Let's finish with electability, but trust me, we're coming back to this issue.
Jesus
Mr.
fucking
Ramaswamy, for months you campaigned as a unifier. Then you stood up at the first debate and attacked all of your competitors as bought and paid for. The second debate, you changed your tune, saying these are good people on this stage, admitting you can come across as a bit of a know-it-all and rejecting the practice of personal insults. By debate number 3, you called Nikki Haley corrupt, accused Ron DeSantis of wearing high heels, and told Ambassador
This is
Haley she
great.
should keep a closer eye on her daughter. Can you see how this has led some to conclude you are not, in fact, a unifier, and to question your authenticity?
Megyn, I think there's a time and place for everything. We need somebody in the White House who absolutely is going to be a fighter when it counts. And
the little
I did say
gremlin
that there were some
man.
good people on that stage.
You
in
know,
that third
crawls
debate.
around. You
Doug
know,
Burgum
the little green ghoul guy. He crawls around.
I feel like he's trying to sell me something.
He goes, whenever
He's
he
trying to
goes
sell me something.
upstairs, he runs up on all fours.
He's just trying to tell me something. He's trying to sell me something every time.
was on that stage at
Yeah, buy this brand new used car. Low miles, trust me.
That's racist.
that time. And I'll say that jokingly. Ron DeSantis is a good person, too. I want to go back, though, to Nikki Haley's comment from earlier that she is somehow not
Nikki Haley
responding
is
to the
risen
will
up,
of
so
these
they're hitting
donors.
her. They don't like her now.
Nikki, you were bankrupt when you left the UN. After you left the UN, you became a military contractor. You actually started joining service on the board of Boeing, whose back you scratched for a very long time, and then gave foreign multinational speeches like Hillary Clinton is. And now you're a multimillionaire. That math does not add up. It adds.
Bro, let's look at
get
your
that bank bill.
businesses. Let's look at your businesses, bro.
Wouldn't that be great?
Look at
But
her.
to the
She
fact
look at
that
her
you are-
smiling, bro.
Yeah.
Like
She was ready for it. She was totally prepared. She knew it was coming.
Corrupt. And when I said they were bought and paid for, I meant the Republican establishment, not the Democratic establishment. Now you have Reid Hoffman, the person who's effectively George Soros Jr., funding lawsuits across this country against Donald Trump to keep him off the ballot, funding left-wing causes.
More of that.
We discovered this week that he is one of Nikki Haley's largest supporters.
Nice.
Larry Fink, the king of the woke industrial complex, the ESG movement, the CEO of BlackRock, the most powerful company in the world, now supporting Nikki Haley. And to say that doesn't affect her is false, because it's after that meeting later that day that she says that every American needs to be doxxed by having their ID, their government-issued ID, tied to what they say on the internet. So I think that this is far more corrupt than I even imagined when I entered politics. But I will say this. It is going to take a leader from the outside with fresh legs from the next generation to unite this country. Not the broken politicians who are puppets of the puppet masters, but the actual people in this country. Thomas Jefferson was 33 when he wrote the Declaration of Independence. I think it's going to take somebody whose best days in life are still ahead.
How old are you, bro?
A country whose best days are ahead of itself. And I think I can reach that next generation better than anybody else in this race.
Thank you. Response.
Megyn. First of all, we weren't bankrupt when I left the UN. We're people of service. My husband is in the military, and I served our country as UN ambassador and governor. It may be bankrupt to him, but it certainly wasn't bankrupt to us. Secondly, I did serve on the
She had
board
that
of
one
Boeing.
loaded.
I did a lot of work with Boeing when I was governor. They were a great partner to me. I served for 10 months. And then when they decided after COVID that they wanted to go for a corporate bailout, I've never supported corporate bailout, so I respectfully stepped back and got off the board. I love Boeing. They build good commercial airplanes. They build airplanes for our Air Force. I am proud of them. They employ a lot of people in South Carolina, but that's why I left the Boeing board. There's nothing to what he's saying. And in terms of these donors that are supporting me, they're just jealous. They wish that they were supporting them, but I'm not going to sit there and deny.
Hate my haters are just jealous. That is a classic
Talking about
conservative
ESG and these woke corporations and
influencer move,
BlackRock.
bro.
The idea that I want to do that in Florida, they
Classic.
were managing our
That's a
pension,
Trump
part of
one.
our pension.
That's so good. That's the best line so far.
And then when they did the ESG, I took $2
Oh my
billion
God.
away from BlackRock. We took action. This ESG, they call it environment,
Nobody
social
knows what you're
governance.
talking
And again,
about,
Nikki is
dude.
meeting with all these people.
This is why
Yeah,
you're
literally
losing.
nobody knows what they're talking
What,
about.
like Trump wouldn't say shit like this.
Like, this
He
is
just
nonsense.
say shit about how windmills kill birds and we need to keep them out of it.
They want to use economic power to impose a left-wing agenda on this country. They want basically to change society without having to go through the constitutional process. We've kneecapped it in the state of Florida. The next president of the United States needs to be able to go to that office on day one and end ESG. And the fact of the matter is,
Nobody
we know
knows what
from
you're
her
talking
history,
about.
Nikki will cave to those big donors when it counts. And that is not acceptable.
I did write that book, Ron, and the irony is
Ron's
Nikki
wife
Haley was heaping praise
trying to
on
cheer
me when I
loud and
wrote
amp
that
up the
book,
crowd,
now
but
I
it
worry-
was
I
clearly
was
not a
warning about
lot.
the woke
You know, it
industrial
seemed like maybe
complex in this
3 people
country
there for
as a
backing him.
warning. Apparently, she read it as a how-to manual, just like she reads George Orwell's books.
Okay, all right.
As
So,
Oh
well.
my
And so I think
God.
that's actually far more dangerous than. This is really important for people to understand. We're marching towards fascism under Biden. Jack
Oh
Smith
my
has
God.
subpoenaed every last retweet that someone has issued from Donald Trump in the year 2020. The only person more fascist than the Biden regime now is Nikki Haley, who thinks the government should identify every one of those individuals with an
Booze.
ID. That is not
They
freedom,
booed.
that is
His squad.
fascism, and she should come
Dude,
nowhere near the
she
levels
doesn't
of
need
power
to
let
do
alone the White
anything.
House.
They're gonna self-destruct.
No, but you
Yeah,
just
this is
say-
great.
Can you speak?
I really appreciate
How
that.
you doing,
Hey,
sir?
good to see you.
Can you please?
Yeah,
speak
Chris
to
Chris
this
Christie's
Woo!
best intro.
requirement that you said that every anonymous
You're
internet
here.
user
Woo.
needs to out themselves. They're both hitting you on it.
I would be happy to, and I love all the attention, fellas. Thank you for that.
But I'm trying to figure out
I will-
how we get
I'll
them
say-
to have Pokemon go to the polls.
Where's this debate?
Oh God, who cares?
You know?
Look
Because
it
I was
up.
gonna say, it'd be funny if she got out a fan, like one of those handheld fans, and was like, "Oh, thanks for all the attention." Just
That's
played the
what I
bits and
said
then
was
destroys them.
that social
Alabama.
media companies need to show
Yeah,
us their
that'd be
algorithms.
perfect. It's
I
the
also
perfect
said
place.
there are millions of bots on social media right now. They're foreign, they're
True.
Chinese, they're Iranian. I will
True.
always fight
Okay,
for freedom
hang
of
on,
speech for
Nikki.
Americans. We do
Foreign,
not need
Chinese, and Iranian. You have some overflow in these categories. You threw 3 out, but what is the foreign? If Chinese and if it's Chinese and Iranian specifically, what's the foreign? Is that just everything else? Myanmar. She can't say Myanmar
Why?
because nobody knows what that is.
Just because nobody knows.
No, but I'm just trying to make something up.
freedom of speech for Russians and Iranians and Hamas. We
That's not
need
what you said.
social media companies to go
That's a
and
lie.
fight back on all of these bots that are
Yeah.
happening. That's
It
what I
literally
said.
is
As a
culture war
mom,
nonsense. She's
as
the
a
only
mom,
one
do I
talking.
think that social
Yeah, the other two need to touch grass. They need to get offline. They need to chill.
media would be more civil if we went and had people's names next to that? Yes, I do think that because I think we've got too much cyberbullying. I think we've got child pornography and all of those things. But
Okay,
having
whoa,
said that,
whoa,
I
whoa,
never
whoa,
said
whoa,
government
whoa,
should
whoa,
go
whoa,
and-
whoa, whoa, whoa. Okay, so cyberbullying and child pornography means that everyone is always doxxed online.
I
What?
think that's what she's saying. Yeah. That
What?
makes sense.
I don't think that.
require any
Well, this is just an extension of what Jacinda Ardern was trying to push after the shooting.
This would just make
Basically the same
cyberbullying
thing.
worse because it would be easier to find people's locations and fuck with
Yeah.
them for real.
Uh-huh.
That's false.
She
What
said,
I
I
said-
want your name.
She
As President of
absolutely
the
said
United
it.
States, her first day in office, she said, one of the first things I'm going to do.
I said we
all
were going to
social
get
media
the
is, I
millions
want
of
your name.
bots.
She wants
That's what she
government
said.
ID to
Hold on,
dox
finish
every
what you're
American.
saying.
That's
That's
what
what
she
she
said.
said. The first thing she did in office, and then she got real serious blowback, and understandably so, because it'd be a massive expansion of government.
deny that?
Actually,
We have anonymous speech. The Federalist Papers were written with anonymous writers. Jay, Madison, and Hamilton, they went under Publius.
Boo!
It's something that's
Boo!
historically given how
Boo!
conservatives have been attacked.
Two
and-
words
We
in
have
one.
a
they've
name for
lost jobs.
fantasy realized. It's called Nightmare.
That's what this is.
And they've been canceled. You know the regime would use that to weaponize that against our own people.
Okay,
It was a
so-
bad
so I have
idea,
to say-
and
I
she
have
should
to
own
say-
up to it. Come on, now, what are
I'm
you
gonna
doing
give you
here?
15 seconds, and then there is the governor, former governor of New
This
Jersey. who
cracks me up
deserves some
because
fun.
Ron is
I got
so hypocritical because he actually went and tried to push a law that would stop anonymous people from talking to the press and went so far to say bloggers should have to register with the state if they're going to talk about elected officials. It was in the check your newspaper. It was absolutely there.
Some
I
legislators.
have
That
never
reveals her
said
ammunition.
government
She
should.
No more,
has to
no more.
trample on your
You can
constitutional
come back to it
rights.
later. No,
This is
no.
more dangerous than the
You're
Democrats.
lying.
This section's over. Okay. Governor Christie.
Oh my god.
Just that
I'm
piece.
usually not somebody who gets missed, but okay, let's
And
go.
what's happening? Okay,
Because
I
he's
got
fat.
You. So you endorsed Donald Trump in 2016 and 2020. You gave him an A for his first term. Since then, however, you've turned on him, calling him a liar, a loser, a con man, and someone
he
who
tried to
cannot
kill
win.
me.
You've even said that you got into this race just to stop President Trump. His approval rating with Republicans is currently at 81%. Yours is
What
at
do you mean?
25.
Bro, are you kidding me? We're adding the value. Right? That's us. We're the value, right?
Your best state is New Hampshire, and even there,
He looks like he's trying so hard
of
to
GOP
contain
voters
his
say they
chin.
would be angry
Yeah.
and disappointed if you won.
Like if he breathes, it'll all flow out.
Respectfully, Governor, you have not stopped Mr. Trump, and voters may wonder how you could possibly become the nominee of a party that does not appear to like you very much.
Yeah. Well, look, Megan, it's often very difficult
He's still
to be the
here.
only person on the stage
Exactly.
who's telling the truth, and the only person who is taking on what needs to be taken on. I look at my watch now. We're 17 minutes into this debate, and except for your little speech in the beginning, we've had these three acting as if the race is between the four of us. The fifth guy, who doesn't have the guts to show up and stand here, he's the one who, as you just put it, is way ahead in the polls. And yet I've got these three guys who are all seemingly to compete with, Voldemort, he who shall not be named. They don't want to talk about it. The fact
reference
is that
for
when
the
you go
kids.
and you say the truth about somebody who is a dictator, a bully, who has taken shots at everybody,
Bro, did he
whether
just
they've
call
given him
Trump a
great service or
dictator?
not
Mhm.
over time,
Okay.
who dares to
He's winning
disagree
in my
with him,
book then.
then I understand why these three are timid to say anything about it. Maybe it's because they have future aspirations. Maybe those future aspirations are now, or maybe they're 4 years from now. But the fact of the matter is, the truth needs to be
I
told.
love the movie Kung
And
Fu
for us to go
Panda.
17 minutes without discussing the guy who has all those gaudy numbers you talked about
What he
is
numbers?
ridiculous. I'm in this race because the truth needs to be spoken. He is unfit. This is a guy who just said this past week that he wants to use the Department of Justice to go after his enemies when he gets in there. I mean, the fact of the matter is, he is unfit to be president, and there is no bigger issue in this race, Megan,
I
than
kind of
Donald Trump,
respect
and
it,
those numbers
know?
prove it.
I like
Governor
it.
Christie.
Just like no,
We will be
Trump just be like, I'm gonna be totally corrupt. I'm gonna use the Justice Department to seize everyone. I'm gonna throw everyone in jail. They're going to Guantanamo. Hillary's going to jail.
I thought you were talking about Chris Christie.
Addressing that issue of Donald Trump in just a moment, but I'd like to first get to some questions on Israel. Governor DeSantis,
Boo.
tonight as we speak, the war is back on.
Ready for
in
genocide
Gaza. Israeli
fucking
tanks are on
support?
the move and
I'm
have
ready.
surrounded the home of the leader of Hamas. 8 Americans have been held hostage in the tunnels beneath Gaza for 60 days now. American troops and warships in the Middle East are under attack. How far would you go as president to secure the release of those 8 American hostages?
Here we go.
And would it include sending American forces into combat?
We have to look out for our people. When there are hostages, Commander in Chief, you have to do whatever you can to get them done. But the overall issue with this is this administration is trying to hobble Israel from being able to defend itself.
Good.
They have a right to eliminate Hamas and win a total and complete victory so that they never
At
have
all
to
cost.
deal with this again. Hamas wants nothing less than a second Holocaust. They would wipe off every single Jew off the map. They would destroy the state of Israel if we could.
Predator
Joe
drones.
Biden will say they support Israel, and then they do nothing.
You will never
but
see
try
it
to
coming.
Kneecap them every step of the way. You should
Civilians
not
were
try
killed, and
to
that's
direct
what
their
we're going
war
to
effort.
continue
We
to
should
try
work
to do.
together with them so that they can bring Hamas to heel. Look, I served in Iraq back in the day. I'm the only one running for
And
president
you
that
tortured
served in
people.
the military. I understand that part of the world. It's
They
not the best
referenced the
part of the
Protocols
world.
of Elder
We
Zion.
do
I mean,
have
I wrote
troops
that
there
book.
that Biden
That's a
is
great
leaving
book.
basically
Dude
as sitting
literally
ducks.
was like, I tortured
And you have
people
the
in Iraq back in the day. 2004, when it all went wrong. That was me.
Iranians that are attacking these troops, and he's responding with basically pinpricks.
Technically,
You
they're
harm an
Iranians.
American service member, you're going to have hell to pay when I'm president. We are not going to let our troops be sitting ducks. We also need to look at what's the underlying problem here. Iran. Biden is doing nothing to bring Iran to account. You got to turn the screws on them.
Yes.
Don't let them have any oil
Yes.
revenue. The money
Let's
they get,
go.
they send to Hamas, they send to Hezbollah, and they foment jihad throughout the Middle East.
he's
So
losing
Biden has empowered Iran just like he's empowered other adversaries. We stand with Israel. They're our best ally in the Middle East. We have a unique relationship with them, and you will see a strong relationship when I'm the president of the United States.
But would you
Elizabeth,
send American
Elizabeth,
troops?
Elizabeth, look. This is
have a
the
unique
problem
relationship
with the first 3 debates. Ron gets asked a question and he doesn't answer it. Your question
Yes,
was very
Christy.
specific. You
Get
said,
him.
would you send American troops as commander in chief? And he went on to this minute and 30-second hosanna about his
I love
knowledge
this.
of the military.
He's stopped
and what
giving
we
a
need
fuck.
to do.
This
and
is great.
didn't answer your question. Look, when you're president of the United States, you're not going to have a choice whether to answer that question or not. Your generals, your Secretary of Defense, your Secretary of State, your National Security Advisor are going to present plans to you. They're going to look at you and say, do we go or don't we, Mr. President? And you can't give a 90-second speech about your military service, as
So would
awful
you,
as it
would you
is.
send American troops in to
I
rescue those
would
hostages?
absolutely,
Boo.
absolutely. If they had a plan which showed
Boo.
me that we could get them out safely, you're damn right I'd send the
Losing
American
me.
Army in there
Boo.
to get our
To get
people home and get them
hostages?
home
Back-
now.
I'm-
And
I'm
I'll
back
answer
to
that
Nikki.
question directly.
Back in
Wait, 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 no, no.
Boo.
He's- wait, so the scenario is just
Mr.
as a
Rock.
hostage rescue?
I don't think so. I think it
He
was
just
like
said if we could get them in there and get them out.
I think he's talking about the troops.
Yeah, but isn't it in response to Hamas and the hostages? Didn't they ask that because
No,
they
it's
said they
just
still have
defending
hostages,
Israel.
right? At the beginning?
I don't think so.
Uh,
I don't think so. Fucking
I
Ron
walked away.
DeSantis
So.
went on for ages about nothing, and I forgot
Yeah,
what
but the
fucking
question was about the hostages.
I don't
Would you
think it
deploy
was.
troops to get the hostages.
I think it was just
Yeah,
deploy
let us
troops
know.
to Israel.
Ramaswamy, you have said it was irresponsible for Ambassador Haley to call Hamas's terrorist rampage an attack on America and for her to, quote, rabidly shout, finish them, end quote. The Hamas terror attack left dozens of Americans dead and was the deadliest attack on Jews since the Holocaust. Why wouldn't it be a good thing to finish Hamas?
Finish them was purposefully vague in a discussion that included Iran, which is what I objected to. And I think it's, as U.S. president, you have to be responsible. What happened to Israel was dead wrong. What Hamas did was medieval. It was subhuman. It was immoral. And we have to call that out for what it is on October 7th. But to say that that was an attack on America fails a basic test. I mean, Nick, if you can't tell the difference between where Israel is and the U.S. is on a map, I can have my 3-year-old son show you the difference. That is irresponsible because it has major consequences, because that doesn't leave room for what actually is an attack on America. So I believe I have the strongest pro-Israel position actually on the stage, even though it's a little bit different than the standard GOP talking points. And it is this. The founding vision of Israel, David Ben-Gurion, the George Washington figure of
Weird.
Israel. What did he
Weird.
believe? He
Weird.
believed that
He's
we don't
bringing up
want,
fucking
as
Jewish
Israel, to
Nosferatu,
depend on its
bro.
leading
What is happening? What the fuck is going on? Jesus
Bro,
Christ.
he's talking about fucking Ben Gurion, bro.
I know, I heard.
That's
What the
wild.
fuck?
sympathies
Where
of the
what
West
are
and
we
have our
doing
hands
here?
tied.
We're literally going
I
back
think
to
Israel
the
has an
establishment of Zionism. What?
I guess I guess they know their audience in Alabama.
They referenced the Protocols of Elder Zion. I mean, I wrote that book. That's a great book.
Right to defend itself to the fullest, without the U.S., the UN, or the EU, or anybody else second-guessing their decisions, as the Biden administration, guess what, is now starting to do. I think that's a more deeply pro-Israel position than anybody else, and it keeps the actual lines of accountability clear because it is a pro-American position. And as leader of the United States of America, just as a father of two sons, my sole moral duty is to my family. As your next president, my sole moral duty is to you, the people of this country.
Doesn't sound like
That's
it.
how I'm going to lead. So I'll tell Bibi, you smoke the terrorists on your southern border, you go ahead and we're rooting for you.
This
We're
guy
going to
is,
smoke
like,
the terrorists on our
Oh my
southern
God.
border,
Currency.
and that's how I'm going to lead this country.
Doesn't this guy seem like a cryptocurrency guy?
Mm-hmm. He's trying to sell me a course.
I don't.
But Americans,
When we just go back to the people who like are speaking plain English, like Nikki at least was talking in plain English, but it was just shit I didn't care about, countering ESG, whatever.
attack. Americans were killed in that attack. And so if you
we
look
said
at this
so.
terrorist attack and the number of Americans, this would be one of the top 10 terrorist attacks in American history. So our own people were killed in that attack. And I think it's absolutely appropriate to point that out and to say that we're in this together and we are going to work with Israel so that these people are brought to justice.
I agree with that.
Ambassador Haley, I'm coming to you.
What'd you say?
I don't know.
Iran is on the threshold of becoming a nuclear state.
The
Wall Street Journal reported that Iranian military leaders gave the green light.
What are you doing? What are you doing?
Nothing.
Were you saying something?
No.
For Hamas's
Okay.
attack on Israel. You said in last month's debate that, by contrast to the Biden administration's approach to Iran, you would, quote, punch them once and punch them hard.
Good.
Were you saying that it's time to
Can you
bomb
go more
Iran?
than once, though?
No, I was not saying it's time to bomb Iran, but I will tell you,
We do,
I
though.
dealt with Iran every day when I was at the United Nations, and they only respond to strength. What they don't respond to is when you weaken the sanctions like they did on Iran that allowed China to send them billions to fill their proxies. What they don't respond to is when you give $6 billion for 5 hostages. That only makes them want more hostages.
This is what I wanted
they
last
don't
time.
respond to
You know,
is when
her
they
talking
do
about
100
like foreign policy shit. We didn't even get that last debate. They asked her like weird questions that had nothing to do with.
She never
like,
got a chance.
Keys.
At least she's finally getting to.
140
Yeah, and I'm liking
strikes
this
on our
all. I'm
men and
liking
women.
this Iran is the bad guy, not Mexico rhetoric. I'm all about it.
And in Syria and Iraq, and we do nothing but just some small shots.
I think that the people of Iran speak for themselves and like they deserve freedom, right? And like making it all about tied to Israel and stuff is fuck Israel, okay? It's not about Israel.
Exactly.
It's about the entire fucking Middle East. Iran has inflicted so much suffering.
Yeah, I completely
More
agree.
than Israel.
Yeah.
Shots back. You've got to punch them. You've got to punch them hard and let them know that. That's the only way they're going to respond. So the way you do that is you go after their infrastructure in Syria and Iraq where they're hitting our soldiers. That's what you do. And then that's when they'll back off. The problem is you have to see that all of these are related. If you look at the fact Russia was losing that war with Ukraine. Putin had hit rock bottom.
Yep.
They had raised the draft age to 65. He was getting drones and missiles, drones from Iran, missiles from North Korea. And so what happened? When he hit rock bottom, all of a sudden, his other friend, Iran, Hamas goes
Okay,
and
to be
invades
clear,
Israel and
you guys
butchers
aren't for preemptively invading Iran. Not necessarily invading, because there is. I talk about this a lot, but because the existence of the IRGC, you can't beat them in a conventional war. Invasion would be really stupid. I support actually backing the protests and things like that, and like, you know, giving people arms to fight and things like that. But the thing is that even if the regime falls in Iran, the IRGC will still exist in other states. So that's the big issue. Is like they control so much of the Middle East now.
And they would be rogue as well. There would be no center head.
They already are, though. You know.
Yeah, they're semi-autonomous.
Al Qaeda's
those people on Putin's birthday.
Not necessarily a regime change. It's different. More of a Ukraine thing, right? All that needs to happen is that, so Iran actually has an interesting political structure built underneath it. It literally could be as democratic as Ukraine was right after Ukraine ousted their old leader. So there's a state that's supposed to be like underneath and separate to the Ayatollah. So if you just remove the Ayatollah and ban the IRGC, both are terrorists, right? Then the standing government can stay in place, and then you do snap elections and actually like transition into a democracy from there. The point is that you still need the opposition parties that are loyalists and stuff to hold power. You can't like do a de-Baathification because that will destabilize the state. So it makes sense.
Then Putin, because all of the attention America had on Ukraine suddenly went to Israel. And that's what they were hoping is going to happen. We need to make sure that we have full clarity that there is a reason, again, that Taiwanese want to help Ukrainians, because they know if Ukraine wins, China won't invade Taiwan. There's a reason the Ukrainians want to help Israelis, because they know that if Iran wins, Russia wins. These are all.
They took the L and came crawling back to the United States.
What do you mean?
Huh? China took an L and came crawling back to the United States and said, we're friends again.
With Taiwan?
No, the U.S.
When?
You literally reported on it. Xi came here.
Well, in the meeting.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
They like deleted all their propaganda, said we're friends again. You know?
Yeah. I wasn't sure whether that was what
They're
you were
like,
referencing.
okay, we're not going to invade Taiwan. We're too poor.
Well, yeah.
All connected. But what wins all of
Is
that
Chris
is a
Christie's
strong
podium
America,
slightly
not a weak
larger?
America. And that's what Joe Biden's given us.
I want to say one thing about the tie to Ukraine, if I may.
So keyword, what I said is, the way it looks right now, I don't think they have the ability to. Not necessarily that they could regain that ability or have the ability in the future, but just right now, it just doesn't look like it's in the foreseeable future because of the way they've diplomatically moved with the United States. But then again, didn't like we, throw medals of friendship on those first bombs we dropped on Japan after they did Pearl Harbor? You could always just do a covert backstab thing. That would be
policy
sneaky.
experience is not the same as foreign policy wisdom. I want everybody at home to note that I was the first person to say we need a reasonable peace deal in Ukraine. Now a lot of the neocons are quietly coming along to that position, with the exceptions of Nikki Haley and Joe Biden, who still support this, what I believe is pointless war in Ukraine. And I think those with foreign
It's not your
policy
war,
experience,
dickhead.
one thing that Joe Biden and Nikki Haley have in common is that neither of them could.
China won't be there for 30 years. They're not capable at all. They're training cavalry on horses.
Even state for you 3 provinces in eastern Ukraine that they want to
Well,
send.
that's because they use them to chase down Uyghurs who get away, but we don't talk about that.
Mm-hmm.
Our troops to actually fight for. Look at that. This is what I want people to understand. These people have, I mean, she has no idea what the hell the names of those provinces are, but she wants to send our sons and daughters and our troops and our military equipment to go fight it. So reject this myth that they've been selling you that somebody had a cup of coffee stint at the UN and then makes $8 million after, has real foreign policy experience. It takes an outsider to see this through. Look at the blank expression. She doesn't know the names of the provinces that she wants to actually fight for.
Look at her. She's just.
Right there. The donors right there that are playing.
I really, really hope that she just names the provinces, looking him dead in the eye.
Okay, hold on.
Let me just say something here. You know, his reasonable peace deal in
Ukraine. Dad's here.
Mm-hmm.
It's so they all hate Haley right now
stolen.
because she sprang up in the polls. Like she kind of so like I guess after the last debate, which was a more like lib friendly debate, she looked really, really well to like a lot of moderate people. So now that's why they've just been attacking her, the two extreme candidates.
Promise Putin you'll never put Ukraine in Russia, and then trust Putin not to have a relationship with China. Let me tell you something. That's no
That's
reasonable.
not my deal. That's not my deal,
yes,
Chris.
it's exactly what you
I'll
said.
describe
You
my
do
deal
this
to
at
you.
every debate.
I'll tell you exactly what it is.
Don't interrupt
I'll
me.
tell
I
you
didn't
what it
interrupt you. Okay?
Tell
You
me
say this.
about how you
You
want to send
do
our
this.
kids to die.
You
Go
do
for it.
this at every debate. You go out on the stump and you say something. All of us see it on video. We confront you out on the debate stage. You say you didn't say it, and then you back away. And I want to
I'll
say
tell you
one.
exactly
No,
what I said, Chris.
I'm not done yet.
Well, this
Now
is
look.
I told you, stop giving a fuck.
I love this. And then he's just dabbing
such
up,
a
just
fan of
telling her
this.
to shut up.
That you would be voted in the first 20 minutes as the most obnoxious blowhard in America. So shut up for a little while.
Chris, your version of
We're gonna let you respond to that. We're gonna let you respond to that. Let him finish.
I want to say something else. We're now 25 minutes into this debate, and he has insulted Nikki Haley's basic intelligence, not her positions, her basic intelligence. She doesn't know regions. She wouldn't be able to find something on a map that his 3-year-old could find.
Yeah, he's
Look,
a
if you
gnome.
want to
He's turning
disagree
to
on issues,
stone.
that's fine. And Nikki and I disagree on some issues. But I'll tell you this, I've known her for 12 years, which is longer than he's even started to vote in a Republican primary. And while we disagree about some issues and we disagree about who should be president of the United States, what we don't disagree on is this is a smart, accomplished woman. You should stop insulting
So
her.
I'm going to take this.
I'm all about this.
I love this. Learned something from Chris.
Actually, Ron, join in. Turn on Vivek now. Turn on Vivek.
That would actually be a
Turn
very
on
good
him.
move.
Come on, turn on him.
Doesn't know what provinces in eastern
Take him out.
Ukraine he actually
Like
wants to
you know
fight
when
for.
the
Chris,
girl
your
who
version of
got her
foreign
legs broken
policy
in the ice
experience
skating Olympics.
was closing a bridge from New Jersey to New York.
Yeah.
So do everybody a favor, just walk yourself off that stage, enjoy a nice meal, and get the hell out of this
Yeah,
race.
let me tell you.
When it comes to Nikki, I think if you're going to actually send your sons and daughters to go
While
die
you
in somebody
weren't
else's
voting-
war,
Hold on.
you
you
better,
weren't
excuse
voting-
me, Chris, I'm speaking, and I'm not done yet.
I
You
haven't
had your
heard the
chance.
time when you were
And stop smiling. They
Listen
told
up to
stop
this.
smiling.
These
Keep your
people
mouth
want to
shut.
send your sons and daughters to go die in Ukraine. They've been arguing for it for a year. $200 billion of our taxpayer money sent over.
Incorrect.
Neither of them could even name for you the provinces that they actually
That's
want
not
to protect. And
how
this
the
is the
money
people who have been
works,
touting their so-called
dickhead.
Can you name the
foreign
provinces,
policy
Vivek?
experience. It is intellectual fraud. These people are lying to you, the same people who told you about weapons and mass destruction in Iraq to justify that invasion didn't know the first thing.
You know what's funny though? He's right, but he's also them as well. So self-report.
They're all
projection.
different people. They have nothing to like. That
No,
was
no,
like,
I know. I'm saying everything else, not that they're the same
know?
people.
About it, yet they send thousands of our sons and daughters to go die. The same people who told you the same in Afghanistan, where the Taliban is still in charge 20 years later. $7 trillion of our national debt due to these toxic neocons. You can put lipstick on a Dick Cheney, it is still a fascist
Ron
neocon.
DeSantis has
Thank
no
you,
You got to
Mr.
see that
Ramaswamy.
today.
Thank you,
With
Mr.
Dick Cheney
Ramaswamy.
all over again in this
All right,
Thank you,
he's
Mr.
winning me.
Ramaswamy. 15 seconds.
Name the provinces. Neither of you could even
Oh
name
my
the
God!
provinces.
Shut the fuck
Okay, he's
up.
losing me.
Think about that.
Let me just.
It's actually Crimea is the wrong
All right,
answer.
all right. The floor is Christie's.
All right. Let me just say this. You know, this is the kind of thing where he talks about experience. You know, I was the U.S. attorney in New Jersey when the terrorist attacks. were launched against the United States in 2001. I brought the first two cases in this country against terrorists who tried to attack us again. And I know about the threat of terrorism and bullying in this country and around the world. And at that time, he was learning about the provinces in Ukraine, sitting with his smart-ass mouth at Harvard. That's what was going on. And so,
bro,
the
he
fact
just
of the matter
said
is
he
that back
knows
then he was a
geography.
Democrat. So, the fact
As a
is,
clapback,
the
he
fact
called him a
is
nerd
that-
who looks at maps. Look, Ron is laughing at him. He reads maps.
all he knows how to do.
Well, you were busy hugging
all
Barack
he knows
Obama
how
getting
to
him elected.
do.
Thank you.
All he knows how to do is insult good people who have committed their lives to public service and not say anything that moves the ball down the field for the United States.
On News Nation from Tuscaloosa, polls show immigration and the crisis are among the most
God.
pressing issues for Republican voters right now. Both the issue of migrants
Has
crossing
anything happened?
illegally into our country and the separate
mean?
issue of
In
This
the first 30
debate,
minutes. No,
have
nothing
any
happened.
points been made? We've said
Nope.
I still don't know if they were saying put people on the ground to rescue people or not.
No clue.
Either way, we totally do anyway already.
Yeah.
with fentanyl being smuggled in mostly through legal ports of entry.
fentanyl.
All year, News Nation has been at the border documenting
Bro,
the
that was the
crisis.
best part of
In
that Gavin Newsom
2023
debate when
alone,
he said, like, oh yeah, I actually deal with fentanyl because I target the ports of entry. Actually, the
That was
best part
pretty
was
good.
when Ron DeSantis pulled out a poop map.
Border
was
Patrol
awesome.
encountered
It was pretty awesome.
a record 2.4 million migrants.
Based.
All four of you have talked tough. The question now is, how realistic is the talk? So, Governor DeSantis, I'd like to start with you.
Gun
You have
turret.
pledged to send the military to the southern border on day one of your administration with orders to shoot, quote, stone cold dead anyone illegally entering with a backpack that you believe contains fentanyl. Critics have called this
Wow.
a shoot first, ask questions later policy that would amount to extrajudicial killing.
Yeah, he
You are a
doesn't care.
former
He
military
tortures
lawyer.
Yeah, he's done it before.
I,
Why do you
when I
think
was
this
an
idea
attorney,
of
I
yours
actually
would be
helped
legal?
everyone get away with extrajudicial killing. So I already have
Civilians will
experience
kill,
here.
and that's what we're going to continue to try to do.
The drug cartels are invading our country and they are killing our citizens
Yes.
by the tens of thousands every year.
Yeah.
Yes.
We had a situation.
I didn't say that.
Yeah, it's like there out of the back of my mind. I just didn't think anything of it.
In Florida, there was an 18-month-old baby that was crawling up the curb of an Airbnb rental. There was
Okay.
fentanyl residue on the carpet,
Yes.
and the baby died. Is this acceptable
No,
in this
it
country?
never happened.
I know the elites in D.C., they don't care. They don't care that fentanyl's ravaging your community. They don't care that illegal aliens are ravaging our community and overwhelming our community. The commander-in-chief not only has a right,
He's
you have a
kind of
respo-
acting like Morty now.
Mm.
You know, he's just doing
Yeah.
Morty things.
Yeah, a little bit. He's been very weird. It's like he's off his meds.
He is a fucking weird guy. He tortures people.
Yeah. He is strange.
responsibility to fight back against these people.
And does
So
that
we're
mean
gonna-
shooting first?
It means you're gonna categorize them as foreign terrorist organizations, and we will identify just like we would anywhere. When I was in Iraq, the Al Qaeda wasn't wearing a uniform. You'd see anyone walking down the street, they all had man dresses on. You didn't know if someone had
Man
an
dresses.
IED attached or not. And so you had to make a judgment based on intelligence, based on positive identification. But we're going to be able to get the intelligence on these cartel people. And here's the thing. If we had a
You
wall
already
across
have
the
it.
southern border,
You
which I
doofus.
support,
You doofus.
this would not have happened. We need to build a wall across the southern border. I'll get it done. Mexico is supposed to pay for it. Remember, here's how you do that. I am going to have fees on remittances from foreign workers when they send the money back to foreign countries. We're going to tax it, and
That's
we're
a
going
good
to build
idea,
a wall with
actually,
that. So yes, we
honestly.
should have had that, but we don't
That's
have
a good.
it. I'm gonna build
Honestly,
it, but we
like
have to.
as fucked up as that is, okay. Like if we good faith, right? Good faith review, right? If we're talking in a pure capitalist sense, right? the big thing that the United States is a remittance country, right? Most people are coming here just to like send money back home, right?
Yeah.
So if there's a tax on all of that, that is a lot of fucking extra fucking funds that we can put into bombs that we can then drop on children in Mexico.
That is true. That is very, very true.
I think it's a fucked up policy, but I can't necessarily say it's like a bad policy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Lean in on this problem. I am not going to sit there and allow mothers to lose more kids because of fentanyl overdose. I am not going to sit there and let sex trafficking go unabated or human trafficking go unabated.
Unless it's American
There's going to be a
girls
new
inside
sheriff in
America.
town, and these drug cartels better buckle up.
Better buckle up.
You have pledged to catch and deport all migrants who are here in this country illegally. But then you said in Londonderry, New Hampshire last month that you will not deport those who are working and paying taxes rather than feeding off the system. Which is it?
So first of all, what I said is all of the 7 or 8 million illegals that have come under Biden's watch absolutely have to go back. We have to stop the incentive of what's bringing them over here in the first place. Biden just gave temporary protective status to 500,000 Venezuelans. That's 500,000 Social Security cards. That's 500,000 driver's licenses. And I know from my time at the United Nations, the first thing they do is pick up the phone and said, we came over, come on over. And that's what sends more. You have to go and deport these people so they know it can't happen again. For those that have been here longer than that,
I think it's real fucked up when you're deporting past the Darien, right?
Yeah.
Like people have to fucking cross that shit, and they'll do it again. There's people who've crossed it multiple times because they've been deported so many times. Yeah. Well, Venezuela sucks.
Yeah, I completely understand. Go to Cuba, the socialist paradise.
Have they been here? Have they been vetted? Have they paid taxes? Have they been working? And figure out who else is out there. But what I know is my parents came here legally. They put in the time, they put in the price. They are offended by those that are coming illegally. We can't let them skip the line. But when you talk about fentanyl like you did before, let's look at something else. Yes, I think we should send special operations over and take out the cartels. I think we should do a remain in Mexico policy so they never step foot in U.S. soil in the first place. But look at where fentanyl came from. Let's go to the heart of the matter. It came from China. That's why we need to end all relations with China until they stop murdering Americans with fentanyl. I promise you, they need our economy. They will immediately stop that. But this is where Trump went wrong. Trump was good on trade, but that's all he was with China. Because here he allowed fentanyl to continue to come over. He continued to allow them to he would give them technology that would build up their military and hurt us.
Yeah, it's almost like that's why
Chinese
the
infiltration
economy
for them to
benefited from him because he didn't care.
Yeah.
buy up farmland, to put money in our universities, and to continue to do things that were harmful for America. We now have a spy base in Cuba and police stations, and Trump didn't do anything about it.
Thank you. China, though. I mean, listen, this is rich. Because
so this is something. So whenever they talk about immigration and the border, it's literally probably at the bottom of my priorities because I know for a fact it's the same policy. You know, like Obama built the fucking overflow shelters, right? Like Biden didn't change the fucking policy. Like Title 42 might have expired, but like he didn't change anything. Like he kept a lot of. You keep policies in place. You don't fucking throw out the entire government. Less you have to change, the less work you do.
Yep. Exactly.
The #1 ranked governor of bringing the CCP into her state. She wrote a love letter to the Chinese ambassador saying how great a friend China is. You can look at it. We put it on our website, RonDeSantis.com.
Bro, she was an ambassador.
As governor, standing in front of a Chinese flag with a Chinese business saying that she now works for them, talking about this Chinese company. So she's been very weak on China. Now, here's the problem. The rhetoric is different, but her donors, these Wall Street liberal donors, they make money in China. They are not going to let her be tough on China, and she will cave to the donors. She will not stand up for you.
15 seconds, Ambassador.
First of all, he's mad because those Wall Street donors used to support him and now they support me. The second thing is he has a company, a Chinese company, UGAS, that he just did a rally there last year. They have given you $340,000 in campaign donations between them and their employees. They are tied to the Communist Chinese Party. Jinko Solar is another one. They went and expanded. You gave $2 million in subsidies.
I banned China from buying land in the state of
and
Florida.
The Department of Homeland.
I ejected the Confucius Institute. Nikki Haley.
He's talking about Confucius Institutes.
It's the only base thing he's ever done.
He's talking about Confucius Institutes.
That is not
I ejected them. So I have a record of standing up and do what's right. And here's the thing.
You have a record of lying.
She's trying to say things like that. Even the liberal media groups that usually if I say the sky is blue, they'll fact check me and say that's wrong. They looked at her charges. They said it was totally false, that they could not find one instance of me recruiting a Chinese business coming to Florida. You know why? Because we never recruited any Chinese businesses to the state of Florida.
Thank you. Mr. Ramaswamy, over the past year, fentanyl has killed more than 75,000 Americans, 1,000 of them right here in Alabama. You have vowed to use the military to, quote,
this guy's got to have. How is he going to top
Mexico.
the extreme shit? Ron DeSantis said kill him on site. Haley said we're going to send special ops there. You know, how is he going to one up that fucking neocon policy?
One North America, invade Canada as well.
That's a good guess. I think you're right. That's where it's going to go.
Act. But fentanyl can easily be made anywhere, and labs that are shut down can easily and quickly be replaced. Are your tough enforcement policies offering false hope to a country racked by addiction?
To the contrary, I don't think it's going to have to come to that if we deal with the actual demand side problem that we also have in this country. I mean, the easy part is talking about how we're going to use our military to secure the border. I will, and I believe that everybody else wants to do the same thing. But the harder part is dealing with the crisis of purpose and meaning, the mental health epidemic raging across this country like wildfire. And there's a reason why after the opioid crisis, you see fentanyl. And even after we get fentanyl, and we are going to be sure to make sure we do it, this one is worse for many reasons. They're illegally lacing it into pharmaceuticals, so it's more dangerous. But we're deluding ourselves. The real false promise here is thinking that we're going to have dealt with that underlying mental health epidemic in this country by just dealing with the demand side of it. But I want to get back to this issue of the root cause, because a lot of these are coming from labs in Wuhan, China, of all places, drug materials that are going to the Mexican drug cartels that they're pumping across that southern border like a modern opium war. I think it is going to take a U.S. president that's going to have a very different conversation with Xi Jinping than what Joe Biden just had in California. I will tell Xi Jinping, you will not only not buy land in this country or donate to universities in this country, U.S. businesses won't expand into the Chinese market until they're playing by the same set of rules. And the same country that's putting fentanyl into illegal pharmaceuticals in Mexico, it's no coincidence, is the exact same country that also unleashed hell on the world with the COVID-19 pandemic. We also have to hold them accountable with every financial lever that we have available. That is what it actually means to stand with a spine.
I'm sure the economy will love that.
If we're willing to stand with the spine, China will absolutely have to fold because they're in a tougher spot than we are. And then we're back to playing by the same set of rules.
Thank you, Mr. Ramaswamy.
Did you hear he was talking about the dinner?
Let's talk about the economy. Ambassador Haley, homeownership has always been part of the American dream, but it's increasingly out of reach for younger Americans. This year, mortgage rates reached 30-year highs. Home prices have risen $190,000 over the past decade. Is this the free market at work?
Yes.
Or should the federal government do something to make homes?
That's it. 190 grand. Used to be able to buy a house in Melbourne for $70,000.
We're gonna ask Nikki Haley about housing. That's interesting. I'd rather hear it from her than anyone else, honestly.
Yeah. Crazy.
Homes more affordable.
Well, first of all, I mean, you're exactly right. My daughter just got married, and I saw how hard it was for her and her
Americans really do whinge about the smallest changes, don't they?
husband to buy
It's
a
like
home.
normal inflation.
Right now, the average homeowner in America is 49 years old. You've got young people everywhere. That used to be the American dream, and now it's out of reach. But you look at what happened. You first of all look at what the Fed did. The Fed did a terrible job when they allowed all of that money to go through. You saw the Treasury bond rates go up. That affected mortgage rates, that affected automobile rates, that affected insurance rates. And so now we have a high interest rate. You've got a supply issue. Ask any builder. The supply issues have continued to be there. That's caused the rate to go up. And then you've got insurances that have gone up. And so what you have is a lot of younger people who, one, can't afford a home, but two, the banks aren't lending them any money. They've made the regulation so hard that they don't want to give loans on mortgages anymore. So what we have to do is we have to open it up. We have to, one, grow our economy so that people have more money in their pockets. We've got to look at the supply chain and make sure that we are funneling that so that builders don't have to sit there and go overseas to find things. And then we need to make sure that we really stop paying down this debt, make sure that we stop the borrowing, stop the spending. I'll veto any spending bill that doesn't take us back to pre-COVID levels, because our kids are not going to forgive us for all the spending that happened. And as much as everybody wants to talk about how Donald Trump had a good economy, $9 trillion in debt, he did just in 4 years. And we're all paying the price of that, including those mortgage prices.
We're going to come back to President Trump, I promise. Governor DeSantis, the latest News Nation Decision Desk poll found that inflation tops the worries of American voters. 61% say they're very concerned, and the working class is hardest hit.
Wild.
Economists say this would
Inflation. Why would it not be?
I don't know.
was fueled by a glut of federal spending.
Glut.
The Biden administration has added $6 trillion to the national debt so far, but President Trump wasn't exactly a penny pincher.
He's like a dog.
His administration added $7.8 trillion. Do Republicans, including President Trump, share the blame for inflation? And what concrete steps would a President DeSantis take to help Americans make ends meet?
The borrowing, printing, and spending of money was both
I would have the
parties in
Hunger
Washington,
Games. See, we need to
DC.
do the
That's
Hunger
it.
Games to get, there are too many people and it costs too much money to house them. So we do the Hunger Games. We get all the hobos together and we do Hunger Games.
It's the fact these Republicans in Washington have spent. It's driven your prices higher, and it's driven your interest rates to the point where you can't afford. I met a young fella in Iowa. He had graduated college a couple years ago.
Always
and
has
he's
a
like,
fucking
"Governor,
anecdotal
I don't
one.
have a chance. I'm gainfully employed." He's like, "I have no chance to afford a home."
Yeah,
and start a
I have
family."
one-on-one
That is
conversations
taking
with
the
so many quirky people.
American
You have
dream
zero
away from people. So we're going to get the inflation
one-on-one
down. We're going to get
conversations with
the
any of
interest
these
rates
people.
down.
These are
I
your
agree.
very
reduce
friends.
spending.
He's so weird. I don't think he talks to anybody.
Bro, he goes, I'm telling you, like, like the show Gargoyles, those shows the shit, right? He goes home and he gets on the like corner of the building and the daylight comes and he turns to stone. Right. It's because he specced into the gnome tree. Gnomes naturally can have rock
Into
powers.
stone. Yeah.
Right.
I will be willing
And
to veto,
trolls-
and I
trolls
vetoed
too.
a lot as
Trolls
governor
also
of
have
Florida, and we'll
rock
do
powers.
that. We're also going to open up all of our domestic energy for production, lower your gas prices, lower the price of fuel. That's going to help the economy. It also
We're gonna
helps
go.
jobs,
We're gonna
and we'll
get
do it. But
fuel as
another
cheap
thing
as
that's hurting young
Venezuela.
people are these student loans. Now, I don't support having a truck driver having to pay a student loan for someone that got a degree in gender studies. That is wrong. We should not have
Oh my
taxpayers do that.
God.
What I'm going to do, though, is I'm going to get to the root cause of the problem. These student loans
Go
are going to be backed by
outside.
the universities because they need to have an incentive to produce gainful employment for people. They should not be indulging in ideological studies. They should be focusing on things that work. And we're going to take some of this money and
Bro,
we're going to move it to actual
Do you know how many
vocational
people have a
training.
degree in this
Florida, we
country?
doubled
Like
Probably
it's so
a lot.
literally there's so many people with degrees already that like even important degrees don't matter because it's so
Yeah.
oversaturated, right?
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
who cares what they have a degree in? Everyone has a fucking degree and nobody uses their degree for whatever they end up doing. Who gives a shit?
doubled apprenticeships. We have more truck drivers. These are in-demand skills. Don't let anybody tell you that the only
Yeah,
way you
'cause
can be
they're not trying to
successful is through
automate
a
truck
four-year
driving.
Ivy
Yeah.
degree. That's one way you can be. It's not the only way, and we're going to fix that problem in the United States of America.
Why are you gay?
Mr. Ramaswamy, you praised cryptocurrency like Bitcoin.
Yes,
as a
bro. What did I
powerful
say?
global
What did I
financial
say?
Bitcoin, bro.
architecture, and you oppose efforts to regulate it. The head of the largest international crypto exchange just pleaded guilty to allowing his platform to launder money for terrorists, including Hamas.
Yep.
You say your cryptocurrency plan will, quote, ensure economic freedom for Americans.
That's what cryptocurrency is for.
Won't it also
Yeah.
ensure economic freedom for fraudsters, criminals, and terrorists?
Look, fraudsters, criminals, and terrorists have been defrauding people for a long time. Our regulations need to catch up with the current moment. The fact that SBF was able to do what he did at FTX shows that whatever they have,
Wrong one.
Got it. The
isn't working.
acronyms.
And I
No. So he's not.
I know
talking-
what it
the
means.
No. The question was not about Sam Bankman-Fried. It was about the CEO of Binance. So he's talking about the wrong fucking thing.
He's
which
a
is
fake
even
crypto,
funnier.
bro. Just like everything else, it's fake.
think it is nothing short of embarrassing that Gary Gensler, the current leader of the SEC, in front of Congress, could not even say whether Ethereum counted as a regulated security or not. And so I think that this is just another example of the administrative state gone too far. Here's the dirty little secret in American politics today. The people who we elect to run the government are not the ones who are even actually running the government.
Revolutionary.
It is the bureaucrats in those three-letter agencies that are writing
Oh my
regulations that
God.
Congress never gave them the authority to write. And the good news is a U.S. president can absolutely fix that. That takes a U.S. president with a spine. So what I've said is in my administration, by the end of year one, we will have a 75% reduction in the number of federal bureaucrats. We will shut down government agencies that should not exist. We will rescind any regulation that fails the test.
Get your
of West
chainsaw
Virginia
out next.
versus EPA, which is the most important Supreme Court case of our lifetime, that said if Congress didn't delegate that to an
I
administrative
mean,
agency,
he
then
is
it's
like they're associated with each other, you know, like because they're all like part of that like
Mm.
Ayn Rand Institute shit, you know.
Oh,
Like
really?
this guy was on John Stossel
That's
with that
hilarious.
other ANCAP chick, you know. They talked to both
really?
of them,
That's hilarious.
right? So like they're associated with each other.
Hmm. Very interesting. I didn't know that.
constitutional. These are seismic changes. These are big changes that the next president can deliver without asking Congress for permission or for forgiveness. And I want people to understand that distinction because people have been sold myths by politicians for a long time saying, I'm going to work with Congress to do this or that. Much of what you've heard on the stage from the other politicians fit that description. They need Congress. The things that I'm promising you,
Nobody
this
talked
is
about
what the
Congress
leader of the
today.
executive branch gets to do under Article 2 of the Constitution.
Thank you, sir.
Cut down the bureaucracy,
Well, one of the
that's how we
things-
grow our
sir.
economy, and put the Federal Reserve in its place. This is part of the crypto discussion.
No.
90%
Mr.
headcount
Ramaswamy,
reduction at the Fed.
you're out of
Shut up,
time.
man.
15 seconds, Governor
So
DeSantis.
one of the dangers that we're going to face, Biden wants, is a central bank digital currency. They want to get rid of cash, crypto. They want to force you to do that. They'll take away your privacy. They will absolutely regulate your purchases. On day one as president, we take the
Okay.
idea of central bank
They're
digital
gonna
currency.
they're gonna make a
and we throw
digital
it in the
yuan
trash can.
here.
It'll be dead on arrival.
I agree with that.
Gotta get a break. I have a whole second hour to get to. It's exciting. And when we come back, we got a big,
Ah.
huge, you might even say, Donald Trump. Stay tuned.
Bro, I really want Donald Trump to come out like it's the Royal Rumble and you get the surprise entrances. You know, you ever see the Royal Rumble, bro?
Yeah, that would be very funny. That would be
You ever,
very,
you ever
very
see that
entertaining.
shit? You know what the Royal
Yeah.
Rumble is?
Yeah, I know what the Royal Rumble is.
One so and less so for most of you on the front runner in this race, Donald Trump. We invited him to come tonight, as you know, but he declined to come. But we'd like to ask you a couple questions about him now. Ambassador Haley,
Hassan
former
chair
President
moment.
Trump recently promised, if he's reelected, to bring back and expand his program restricting immigration from Muslim countries. Here he is in Iowa on October 16th.
No longer will we allow dangerous lunatics, haters, bigots, and maniacs to get residency in our country. We're not going to let them stay here. If you empathize with radical Islamic terrorists and extremists, you're disqualified. You're just disqualified.
Ambassador Haley, do you support President Trump's plan for ideological screening?
Well, I don't think that you have a straight up Muslim ban as much as you look at the countries that have terrorist activity that want to hurt Americans. You can ban those people from those countries. That's the way we should look at it, is which countries are a threat to us. You look at what came across the southern border. What worries me the most are those that came from Iran, from Yemen, from Lebanon, those areas where they say death to America. That's where you want to be careful. It's not about
more
religion.
anti-Iran shit.
It's about a fact that certain countries are dangerous and are threats to us. A president has one job, and that's to keep Americans safe. And that's what we've got to do, is make sure that we have good national security in that process. And that's the way you should look at it, is where the terrorist threats
this
are,
literally
how we're
just
gonna deal
happened
with it,
tonight, a
and
few
what we're
hours ago.
Yeah. I only found out about it a couple hours ago.
Yeah, like Jack
doing about it. And
came in to work, and I was like, "Guess what? Something terrible has happened. There's been a Republican debate."
biggest threat we have right now is communist China. But you have to also look at what Iran and Russia are doing as well. And we need to be paying attention to that. That's why we have to focus on things like cyber, on space, on artificial intelligence, and not just the regular things that we've always focused on.
It's not just terrorism, though. That's important. But look what's happened in Europe. You have more anti-Semitism in Germany than at any time since Adolf Hitler. Why? Because they imported mass numbers of people who reject their culture. Europe is committing suicide with the mass migration. And it's illegal and legal. Nikki Haley said the other day there should be no limits on legal immigration, and that corporate CEOs should set the policy on that. There needs to be limits on immigration, and we should not be importing people
I do like her
from
accent.
cultures that are hostile. So, for example, I said with the Gaza, you had some of the squad wanted to import 300,000 people from the Gaza Strip.
You know how
I said,
Thatcher
no,
had a
we're not
stereotype
taking it.
accent as well? You know, she was like, yes! You know? Where it's like you literally couldn't get more British.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I feel like she's got that like Thatcher edge, you know?
Yeah, it's a fair point.
And I hate Thatcher.
She had charisma.
Anyone from Gaza because of the anti-Semitism and because they reject American culture. So we've got to get smart about this. We cannot let the United States be like Europe.
So there's an overhanging fruit here, if I may just hit this point, because it relates to what they just said. There are things that the government can do right now that nobody's talking about amongst the professional politicians in this race. What about all of the illegals who are already here? Here's the answer. There's 287G in the law. That is a provision that already allows ICE agents to deputize or allow local law enforcement to enforce those ICE warrants. And it shocks me that nobody in the Republican Party is talking about it, because there are 1 million then officials, law enforcement officials in this country. And against that backdrop, we absolutely have the ability to
let's
deploy anybody who's in this
police
country
even
illegally.
more. Let's stretch him even thinner. Let's give him another assigned task.
Thank you,
We need to
Mr.
be talking about
Ramaswamy.
more in this
Thank
country.
you. Governor Christie.
I actually did that as governor of South Carolina.
Governor Christie asked last night in Iowa whether he
You know
would
what
be
she
a
said?
dictator
I
if
actually
he
did
wins
that.
the second term in office.
So she's literally like, you say nobody's done it, nobody's talked about it. I've done it, bitch. Finally, is this the second time we're getting back to this fucking boss nass?
Office, Donald Trump quipped no, quote, except for day
I'm
one,
excited.
promising to seal the southern border. He has also pledged to begin the largest deportation operation in American history, saying that migrants are, quote, poisoning the blood of our country.
That's
He has pledged to round up and expel an estimated 11 million undocumented.
No fucking way.
Whoa, Trump said that?
Holy
Sure, let's
shit.
just let Donald Trump come right into our home. Yeah, go ahead. Come on in, buddy. All right, fine. Now I'm going to have wash.
Oh, sorry.
Now I'm going to have wash your beak now. Yeah, didn't think you'd be getting a free beak washing, did you, buddy?
3.
Immigrants in the United States. What do you make of that plan?
I think it's completely predictable. I mean, look, he's made it very clear. There's no mystery to what he wants to do. He started off his campaign by saying, I am your retribution. 8 years ago, he said, I am your voice. This is an angry, bitter man who now wants to be back as president because he wants to exact retribution on anyone who has disagreed with him, anyone who has tried to hold him to account for his own conduct. And every one of these policies that he's talking about are about pursuing a plan of retribution. And yet, at the first debate, my three colleagues on this stage, when asked if he would be convicted of federal felonies, would they still support him, raise their hand, looked into the camera, and let everybody know that they would still support him?
Yeah, it was
And
first
Chris
one, right?
Christie faked a hand. You know?
Yeah.
He's like,
But
no, I didn't have my hand raised.
Nobody didn't, I don't think.
Well,
It was very pathetic. Or he might have been waving it away.
Yeah, he was.
Even if convicted of federal felonies, by the way, federal felonies which involve our election process, federal felonies which involve the most sensitive of our governmental secrets,
Literally
federal felonies where he instructed others to commit crimes, folks who are now agreeing to go to jail because of what they did in his name. So do I think he was kidding when he said he was a dictator? All you have to do is look at the history. And that's why failing to speak out against him, making excuses
He
for
wasn't the
him,
only dictator
pretending
we've
that
had.
somehow he's a victim, empowers him. You want to know why those poll numbers are where they are? Because folks like these three guys on the stage make it seem like his conduct is acceptable. Let me make it clear. His conduct is unacceptable. He's unfit, and be careful of what you're going to get. If you ever got another Donald Trump term, he's letting you know, I am your retribution. He will only be, Elizabeth, he will only be his own retribution. He doesn't care for the American people. It's Donald Trump first.
Thank you, Governor Christie. Governor
good.
DeSantis.
That was really good.
Governor DeSantis.
They should all
Really
turn.
Thank you.
All turn on
Thank
Trump.
you. Governor DeSantis, Donald Trump would be older on day one of his second presidency than Joe Biden was on day one of his first. You have said Trump is not the same man he was when he ran in 2016. Your campaign is running ads showing Trump confused. And you have said he has, quote, lost the zip on his fastball. You seem to be saying Donald Trump is no longer mentally fit to be president. Is that what you think?
Was he
Look,
ever?
he is showing father time is undefeated. The idea that we're going to put someone up there that's almost 80 and there's going to be no effects from that, we all know that that's not true. And so we have an opportunity to do a next generation of leaders and really be able to move this country forward. We also need a president that can serve 2 terms. I don't think Donald Trump, I think he's going to have, I don't think he'd be able to get elected. The Democrats want him to be the nominee. We see that. They are going to turn the screws the minute, if he got the nomination,
But do you think he's
you're going to see
mentally
it.
fit to be
I think
president?
we need to have somebody younger. I think when you get up to 80, I don't think it's a job for that. But let me just respond to some of the things there. Look, the media is making a big deal about what he said about some of these comments. I would just remind people, that is not how he governed. He didn't even fire Dr. Fauci. He didn't fire Christopher
you're
Wray.
running
He
against
didn't clean
him.
up the
You're
swamp.
running against him.
Yeah.
Jesus
That's
Christ.
what he's saying. Is he's saying he didn't do anything that he promised.
Oh, okay.
He said he was going to drain it. He did not drain it. He said he
Nice.
was going to
Okay,
build the
awesome.
wall and have
I-
Mexico
sorry.
pay for it. We don't
I
have
thought he
the
was kissing
wall.
his ass.
He
I'm
did
an
say in
idiot.
2016 he'd have the largest deportation program in history. He deported less than Barack Obama did
So is
when
he
Barack
mentally
Obama
fit?
was president. So some of these policies he ran on in 16, I was cheering him on then, but he didn't deliver it. Here's what I can promise people. 100% of the things I promised as governor, I delivered on those promises. I beat the left time and time again, and that's what I'll do for you as president. We got to start winning again as a party. Yes, win the election, but we've got to start getting these issues. I will go in and wreak havoc on this bureaucracy. You will see people fired, and we are going to bring a reckoning for how this government handled COVID-19.
Here's what it takes. Now, Chris, you had your chance to wax eloquent on Donald Trump. You've been doing it all this whole
Why
race.
doesn't he just answer the question? The question was very direct. Is
Yes.
he fit to be president or isn't he? The rest of the speech is interesting, but completely non-responsive. And if we were in a courtroom, they'd strike the answer and say, Governor DeSantis.
No, they
you're a
wouldn't. They
smart-
would say that
you're a
they
smart
would
man.
argue that
no, they would.
Shut up,
they
dickhead.
They
wouldn't,
would
Chris.
strike the answer
No, they wouldn't.
because you're not answering.
Lawyers
Is he
fight.
fit?
Lawyers
You
fight.
have your thing.
Lawyer fight. Lawyer fight.
We don't.
The thing.
I'm
Is
lawyer.
he fit
I'm
or
the
not
better
to
lawyer.
do?
I'm
You're
the better
talking about
lawyer.
being 80
I'm the
years
better
old.
lawyer.
Ron, is he
couldn't
fit?
get elected. That's
Ron,
up to the people to
Governor
decide.
DeSantis,
But
let
I
him
think we have an
finish.
opportunity.
Shut up, Ron.
No, Governor DeSantis, let him finish.
Ron, is
I
he
think we have
fit?
an opportunity
Guys,
to do
guys,
somebody
guys,
who
no
is in the
talking
prime
over
of their
each other.
life.
Yes.
We don't have to
No
worry
talking
about all
I've
this stuff
got
with
Ron.
positive.
DeSantis,
We can get it
Governor
done.
Finish.
Look, Father Time is undefeated. I don't
Oh
know
my
how
God,
he
we
would
heard
score
this
on a
already.
test, but I know this. We have an opportunity to nominate someone and elect someone for 2 terms who's going to be spitting nails on day one and for 8 years
So you
deliver
do
you
think he's
big
fit?
result.
You
We
do
should
think?
not nominate somebody
He won't
who's
answer.
almost 80 years old.
He's afraid to answer.
No, I'm not.
You have to either you're afraid or you're not listening.
No, it's not.
There's a
You
simple
don't want
question.
to hear the
Is he
answer
fit?
because you have, I know you have the
You know what the best part about this whole thing is? After saying this, nobody's going to want to vote for him.
Who?
That Ron DeSantis. This is the best part.
You think?
That's the best part of this whole thing.
He loses votes every debate, every time he talks.
Pathetic. Pathetic.
All right. Look, I'm a simple guy. Okay. I hear the question and I answer it. Is he fit?
I see the lasagna and I eat it.
You are fit, Ron. You're a new generation. You're 44 years old. I wish I was still 44 years old. Okay?
45.
So, well, congratulations. I'd still take 45. Is he fit or isn't he? And this is the problem with my 3
He's so
colleagues.
insecure.
They're afraid to offend. And
See,
let
I
me
wanna-
tell
I
you
wanna-
something.
I wanna
If
say
you're
this. Chris,
afraid,
hold on,
Mr.
if
Ramaswamy.
you're afraid to offend Donald Trump, then what are you going to do when you sit across from President Xi, you sit across from the Ayatollah, you sit across from Putin? You have to be willing to offend with the truth and answer the question. Fit or unfit?
Okay, listen.
Fit or
I
unfit?
promised Ron DeSantis a minute and not a full minute.
I've got
a second.
It is not about
You can weigh in
offending.
and then we're moving
It's
on.
about pointing out, do you want to elect somebody who will be older than Biden was
Just answer
when
the
he went in
fucking question.
2021? I don't think he was,
He's
as
old.
bad as
He's
Biden was
old.
at all.
He's
but I do
old.
think
Is
that
he
over
fit
a
or not?
4-year
He's
period,
kinda
it
old.
is not a job for somebody that's pushing 80. We need somebody that's younger. We need somebody that's going to be
Say,
able to
no,
go in
he's
there
not
and
fit
clean
then.
house on day one
So
and
here's-
do it for 2
ahead.
terms. And I'll be able to
Here's
do
my
that.
issue with all 3 of my other colleagues on this debate stage.
None
is
of
all
them
3 of them
sucks
have been
Trump's
licking
dick. I
Donald
put
Trump's
his dick in
boots
my
for
mouth.
years for money and endorsements. Ron DeSantis, you've been a great governor, but you would have never been one without actually begging Donald Trump for that endorsement.
And you
Same
attacked
thing
him in
for
your
Nikki
book a
Haley.
year ago.
Same thing with Chris Christie as a lobbyist, begging them for COVID money for his special interests in New Jersey, prepping him for the debates last time around. These people are now Monday morning quarterbacking some decision he made. I think the real enemy is not Donald Trump. It's not even Joe Biden. It is the deep state that at least Donald Trump attempted to take on. And if you want somebody who's
Did
going to
he?
speak truth to power, then vote for
Did
somebody
he
who's going to
really?
speak the truth to you.
Mr.
Why am I the only person
Epstein?
on the stage, at least, who can say
Okay.
that January 6th now does look like it was an inside job? That the
Oh
government
my
lied to
God.
us for 20 years about Saudi Arabia's involvement in 9/11. That the
Oh
Great
my
Replacement
God.
theory is not some grand right-wing
Yeah, it
conspiracy
was an
theory,
inside
but
job
a
by
basic statement
Donald
of
Trump.
the Democratic Party's platform. That the 2020 election
I
was
don't think
indeed
you just
stolen
fucking
by
heard
big
what he
tech.
said.
Saudi
No,
Arabia.
I
That the
don't think you heard what he
2016 election,
said.
the
No,
one
he
that
always
Trump
brings up the
won for
9/11
sure,
Saudi Arabia
was
shit.
also
No.
one that the conspiracy theory, 11, that the Great Replacement theory is not some grand right-wing conspiracy theory, but a basic statement of the Democratic Party's platform. That the 2020 election was indeed stolen by big tech. That the 2016 election, the one that Trump won for sure, was also one that was stolen from him by the national security establishment.
Oh my
That
God.
actually put up the Trump-Russia collusion hoax that they knew was false. There's a reason why I'm the only person
That'll
on
do it,
the
sir.
stage who can
Yelling
say
from the
these
crowd.
things. That's what it's going to take, not people who are licking his boots one time and now Monday morning quarterbacking and criticizing him when it's convenient.
Governor Christie.
I lick his boots every day, dude just said. That's epic.
You do not favor a ban on trans medical treatments for
Ah.
minors, saying it's a parental rights issue. The surgeries done on minors involve cutting off
Really?
body
We
parts
already opened
at a
with
time
this
when these
shit.
kids cannot even.
I just don't care.
Who's gonna be like, I think kids should be kids. He's gonna say some normie shit.
Legally smoke a cigarette. Kids who go from puberty blockers to cross-sex hormones are at a much greater likelihood of winding up sterile.
Okay.
How is it that you think a parent should be able to okay these surgeries, never mind the sterilization of a child? And aren't you way too out of step on this issue to be the Republican nominee?
Is that really the fucking question? Is that really that high up on the fucking agenda for the Republicans? That is pathetic. That is absolutely abysmal.
No, I'm not. Because Republicans believe in less government, not more. In less involvement with government, not more in government involvement in people's lives. And you know what, Megan? I trust parents. And we're out there saying that we should empower parents in education. We should empower parents to make more decisions about where their kids go to school.
Remember what I said? Kids should be kids. It's going to be his response, right?
Yeah. To empower parents to be teaching the values that they believe in their homes without the government telling them what those values should be.
Here it comes.
And yet we want to take other parental rights away. I'm sorry. As a father of 4, I believe there is no one who loves my children more than me. There's no one who loves my children more than my wife. There's no one who cares more about their success and health in life than we do. Not some government bureaucrat, you look at these jokers down in Congress. It takes them 3 weeks to pick a speaker. And up until 2 days ago, they couldn't promote somebody in the military in the United States Senate.
Yeah,
who
that was a
earned
serious
their new
fucking
rank.
issue.
And we're going to put my children's health and my decisions in their hands for them to make those decisions, for Joe Biden to make those decisions, for me and for my wife. Let me just say this. This is not something I favor. I think it's a very, very dangerous thing to do. But that's my opinion as a parent, Megan. And I get to make the decisions about my children, not anybody else. And every parent out there who's watching tonight, you start to turn over just a little bit of this authority,
but it's
the
a good
authority they're going
answer.
to take from you next, you're not going to like. I'll stand up for parents each and every time.
So there are laws banning smoking.
Let me tell you something. I have a follow-up question for him, and you guys are going to get to weigh in, okay? Here's my follow-up question. You talk about parental rights. Let's talk about them. When you were governor in 2017, you signed a law that required new guidelines for schools dealing with transgender students. Those guidelines required schools to accept a child's preferred gender identity, even if the minor's parents objected.
Not true.
And it said that there is no duty for schools to notify parents if their son or daughter changes their gender identity, allowing this serious issue to remain a secret between the school and a child. How is any of that pro-parental rights?
By the way, that's simply not true.
You're doing what you accuse me of, Chris. It is absolutely true.
That's simply not true. That's simply not true. That law was put into effect in 2018 and regulated in 2018 after I was out of office, Megan. No, we did not, Megan. We did not issue those guidelines, and you're wrong about that. Simply wrong. I have stood up each and every time.
So I think if this is one issue that's disqualifying, it's this one.
Got it.
I stood up every single time.
School choice.
For parents to be able to make the decisions for their minor children.
But parents coming in on this answer.
Parents should make those decisions. And by the way, you know what? Every once in a while, parents are going to make decisions that we disagree with. But the minute you start to take those rights away from parents, you don't know that slippery slope, what rights are going to be taken away next, and what's going to be focused on
as
you.
a parent, you do not have the right to abuse
gender
your kids.
mutilation.
This is cutting off their genitals. This is mutilating
Cutting off their
minors.
genitals.
These are irreversible.
This is the subjective opinion of this procedure.
Bro, he's literally, people are screaming at him, cheering, because he says you're cutting off genitals.
Yeah, it's insane. It is a subjective opinion of the procedure and it should never be subject to government.
It doesn't happen with children.
legislation.
Invasive surgeries don't happen with children.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether it happens or not. It's an opinion. It's an opinion
Yeah,
that should not be acted on by anybody of authority at all. That's the problem.
You agree with Chris Christie because he's more conservative
Procedures,
here, not
and this
fascist.
is something that other countries in Europe, like
Right?
Sweden, once they started doing it,
Because
they
you're more
started getting-
conservative than fascist, so you agree with Chris Christie over him.
Sure.
Because Chris Christie gave a conservative answer, including school choice.
Sure, if you want to call
Not making laws conservative? Yes.
Well, not making laws pertaining to something that the government shouldn't be legislating, like the house or the household or the bedroom or anything like that.
They've shut it down. I signed legislation in Florida banning the mutilation of minors because it is wrong. We cannot allow this to happen in this country. And I know Chris disagrees with me, and I think he has an honest position. Nikki disagrees with me. She opposes the bill that we did to ban that. She said law shouldn't get involved with it. You said the law shouldn't get involved with it. She also, though, I think, and this flows from what she did as governor of South Carolina, they had a bill to try to say that
the guys on the
go
right
into
are
girls' bathrooms.
fucking populist fascist.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. That's how they split it. Yeah.
She killed that bill.
She's
and
writing
she
it down.
that
She's
killed
not
that
forgetting
bill.
this,
Even
bro.
to this day, she bragged that. I don't think men should be going into little girls' bathrooms. I think it's wrong, and I think we have.
Oh my god! Can we not do a fucking? Oh my god! We started this with this shit, dude.
It's so tiresome. It's so boring. Is he going to bring out the little leaflet of the kiddie porn that he brings around in his jacket pocket?
Oh my god! Please no. We'll have to
I'm
fucking.
going to come to you. I promise to have seconds. Go quickly.
I think the North Star here is transgenderism is a mental health disorder. We don't let you smoke a cigarette by the age of 18. We don't let you have an addictive drink of alcohol by the age of 21. And I just challenge Ron DeSantis to go one step further.
Actually, parents can let their
what I
kids
think is
drink and
clearly
smoke.
within the authority to do using federal funds, just like Reagan did in '84 for the Highway Act that said the minimum drinking age needs to be 21. We can do the same thing when it comes to banning genital mutilation or chemical castration.
Okay.
I know Ron's been unclear about that on the
Ambassador
federal
Haley.
level. I'm crystal clear. That's where I stand.
Got it.
That's it's a mental health disorder. That's where we need to be at.
Go ahead.
So can liberals, believe it or not.
So first of all, Ron has continued to lie because he's losing.
No, it's
It's
not
just,
lying.
you are lying.
You
So
said
first
it
of
on
all,
tape.
so first of all, I will say that when I was
He
governor,
hates this.
10 years ago, when the bathroom situation came up, we had maybe a handful of kids that were dealing with an issue. And I said, we don't need to bring government into this, but boys go into boys' bathrooms, girls go into girls' bathrooms. And if anyone else has an issue, they use a private bathroom. Now, 10 years later, we see that this issue has exploded. And this shows how hypocritical Ron continues to be. When he was running for governor and they asked him about that, he said he didn't think bathroom bills were a good use of his time. You can go look that up.
I signed a bathroom bill in Florida, so
But
that's
you said-
obviously
no.
not true.
You missed what she said, idiot.
Yeah, he did.
So the idea that you would
His
say
bobblehead moment.
that
I banned the
You killed it.
bathroom.
I signed it. I
We
stood up
didn't-
for little girls. You didn't do it. And there was this going on. I was actually just in South Carolina. Some of the legislators told me at the time there were boys going into the girls.
Oh,
That's the
There
whole
were
reason
some-
why they
No,
did
no,
it.
no, no,
And
no.
Another
so they say when
anecdote.
she does that
Dude, why is this even? Why are they talking about this? Why?
This will get
So
the average
irrelevant.
voter.
So irrelevant.
explanation that doesn't hold water. And this is the upstate of South Carolina.
Ron.
I signed the bill. I
Do
protected
you
the
know
girls.
South Carolinians?
She did not do
you
it.
know
I know
South
that.
Carolinians? Because no. You are not going to talk about my state like that, because I will tell you for a fact, South Carolinians never allowed that to happen, and we did not have that issue at the time. What I have always said is boys go into a boys' bathroom, girls go into a girls' bathroom. But hold on one second. I also say that biological boys shouldn't be playing in girls' sports, and I will do everything I can to stop that because it's the women's issue of our time.
And I signed
Is
legislation
it-
to protect women's sports. I actually get this stuff.
Huh?
I said it's the women's issue of our time. Is it?
So boring. Can we just forget about this, please?
What do you think the next topic will be? We did immigration, inflation, Israel. Haven't talked about Ukraine technically. They could say something about Ukraine war.
I don't think they will.
They asked about like Israel sending military there. Abortion. They're going to ask about abortion. That has to come up. Environment. They're going to ask about environment and abortion.
On from this. Thank you, guys. We're going to move on. Mr. Ramaswamy, When discussing your Hindu faith in September, you seem to take a shot at Ambassador Haley, who is also Indian American and who converted to Christianity as an adult. You said,
Because
an easy
Hindus
thing
are
for me to
fascist.
do, being a politician, is to shorten my
Not
name,
necessarily.
profess to be a Christian, and then run. Make
Just
the
a-
Vic
just a
Vicky
Hindu
or whatever,
fascist party.
end quote. Are you questioning Nikki Haley's Christian convictions? And why has your campaign made a point of referring to Ambassador Haley by her given first name, Nimarata, even though she has gone by Nikki for her whole life?
Well, my whole deal is if Nikki
Yeah, that's
Haley,
a
of
bit
all people,
weird.
should know how to
That's
pronounce my
badass.
name correctly, the rest of the news media can learn it. My deal is I'll call her Nikki when she can say my own name right. That's our little fun side bet there. Here's what I will say is deeper. I don't question her faith,
What a
but I question her
dickhead.
authenticity. And I think that's deeper here. We were just talking about the trans issue. This is a symptom of a deeper
There's
cancer
literally
in
the
American
men
life.
are children
Identity politics.
on this stage.
Yes. Yeah. They're both pathetic.
Nikki Haley is the only one who like shows that she has any material here.
Yeah.
Chris
Like
Christie is
you've got
dad.
the two
he is-
children.
I'm
and
glad
you've got
Chris
mum and
Christie is
dad.
there to be dad, though. You know.
Yeah. You've got mum and dad and the two kids who nobody likes.
Yeah,
It's
especially
like the
this
two asshole
one.
kids that nobody
Especially this
wants
one.
at the family gatherings. Yeah.
The little guy who runs up the stairs on all fours. The little green guy, the little ghoul guy.
This new religion that says your race, your gender, and your sexuality are your identity.
Would
It
you
is
guys do a
anti-American.
more
It is
in-depth video
meritocratic.
on
It's
fascism?
anti-meritocratic,
We have
and it is
a lot of
dividing-
videos about fascism, kind of. It depends on what exactly you're asking for. Like, we just did the communism versus fascism video.
Mhm.
That's great, you know. So it depends specifically on what type of fascism we're talking about.
We do have an episode on it too, but it's more about fascism online.
Mm-hmm.
So
But
there's
just
that.
like as far as defining it, I mean, so I simplify it to it's like ultra romantic nationalism. You need the romanticism and the nationalism combined to even get to the point where you start having fascism. And you can tell that these guys are fascist because they're romanticizing everything. Everything is mythical that they're saying. Nothing is actually real, right? It's that populist rhetoric that also gets romanticized in there. And as far as its origins, there's that's basically, it goes back to when they cut the head off the king and for the French Revolution, and then further down the line, Mussolini gets it.
After it was inspired by
Yeah, we
Saddam.
also just did a video about democracies, and it's just this guy who's a fascist talking about how these countries that used to be fascist aren't democracy because they don't let fascist parties run. But modern fascism isn't. Would I call Stalin a fascist?
No,
Maybe.
not in the.
It's just
There was-
totalitarian.
Yeah, there
But,
was
like,
no nationalism there. That,
there
like,
was, though.
he for the USSR maybe, but not for like nation states.
Yeah, well, he was
There was-
Georgian, you know? He
Yeah, there
couldn't
was
just be
more
like glorious
ethnic.
Russia.
Yeah, there was more ethnic sort of.
I think Churchill was more fascist than Stalin.
Yeah. Stalin.
Which is why
It's-
Hitler thought the British were just going to be on their side. Is that wild?
It's very hard to classify Stalin. He's very much in his own category.
Small man.
Yeah.
Small, compact. You can fit him in a
small,
suitcase.
Violent guy. If you ever see a statue of him, piss on it.
Country to a breaking point. And I've spoken about this to the left. My books are all about this. I've preached this to the left, but it's even worse when Republicans try to play the same game.
Yeah.
We're talking about that trans issue. And Nikki Haley's campaign
Yeah, it was like
video
this
sounded
is
like
what
a
makes
woke
us better
Dylan
than the
Mulvaney.
West, you know?
Mm.
That's what everyone does.
It's the same thing as the Aryan thing that the Germans have and the Peking man thing that China has. It's the same sort of ethnic supremacy ideal. But it wasn't quite fascism. It lacked a few key aspects.
Laney Bud Light ad talking about how she would kick in heels. At the first debate, she said that only a woman can get this job done. That's what she said. after the third debate, when I criticized Ronna McDaniel after 5 failed years of leadership of this party and criticized Nikki for her corrupt foreign dealings as a military contractor, she said that I have a woman problem. Nikki, I don't have a woman problem. You have a corruption problem. And I think that that's what people need to know.
That was
Nikki
shit.
is corrupt.
Oh my
This is
God.
a woman who will send your kids to die.
Bro,
so
that's
she
what
can
you
buy
used
a
for the
bigger
notes they
house.
gave you?
This is the problem. Using identity politics more effectively than Kamala Harris is a form
I
of
can write on
intellectual
piece of
Bro,
paper. Look at
him
me.
coming
I'm
into this
smart.
race
donor puppet master.
made it so bad, right? Like, imagine if he never came in, it was just 3 people on stage right now, and
It would
he
have been
wasn't
so
one of
much
them.
better. It would have been so much better.
All he does is disrupt everything.
Mm-hmm.
Wielding their puppet right up here tonight. This is how this game is played. The puppet masters put up their puppet, and I reject
Another
the use of
meme
identity
format,
politics in this party. It has been
Yeah.
a cancer coming from the left, and I'm sick and tired of the double standards. The people of this country are too. Having 2 X chromosomes does not immunize you
Okay,
from
thank you.
criticism.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Governor Haley, would you like to respond?
He's like, yeah, that was
It's
great.
not worth my time to respond to him.
You have been using identity politics at every step.
Great
She
response.
knows it's true, and that's why she's actually hiding
Okay,
from it.
sir, we're not going to give you a response to the question that was to you.
Okay, we got to move on to this. Now, by arrangement with the Republican National Committee, we've got 2 questions for you about the Justice Department and our election system. Here's Tom Fitton with Judicial Watch. Governor Christie.
Oh, Judicial Watch, bro. They
And she
put
clicked
so
that in.
many ads on my fucking YouTube.
President Trump and many
this
of his
guy, bro,
supporters-
this guy, the election is like, don't you think we should have clean and fair election votes? Follow Judicial Watch. It's literally like,
Blame
it's so,
federal law.
it's like, it's so script reading. Like, he's so bad at reading the script. I hope it sounds like his ad. Here we go.
Enforcement agencies have abused his civil rights for the last 8 years by,
Got a tooth
among
gap.
other things, spying on him and now prosecuting him while having treated Hillary Clinton and Joe Biden with kid gloves.
Okay.
A recent Gallup poll shows that Americans think more highly of the U.S. Postal Service than they do the FBI or Justice Department. What would you do as president to restore the faith of the American people in these agencies?
Well, first off, I'm the only person on this stage who's actually done a job in the Department of Justice. I was the U.S. Attorney in New Jersey in the 5th largest office in this country, appointed by President Bush on September 10th, 2001. And it was an extraordinary time in this country to be on the front lines of fighting the greatest attack against our country since Pearl Harbor. And I'm proud of the 7 years I spent in the Justice Department. And one of the reasons I am is because I had an attorney general when I came in named John Ashcroft. And John Ashcroft stood up and told each and every one of us our job was to do one thing, to make sure justice was done every day, regardless of partisanship, regardless of gender or race or any other consideration. And that's what we did for 7 years. And at a time when our country was at its greatest moment of danger in the last 40 years, we did exactly that. And there was not another domestic terrorist attack on this soil. So what I would do as president, having had that experience,
On
and
the
only
scale of
one
9/11,
who's
at
had that
least.
experience, is to pick an attorney general who will absolutely do the same thing
He
that
always
John
talks
Ashcroft
about
did.
this.
To pick U.S. attorneys who will only care about making sure that justice is done without regard to any other consideration but the facts that are presented and whether someone is guilty beyond a reasonable doubt and the government can prove it. We have had attorneys general like Eric Holder and Loretta Lynch and Jeff Sessions, and now our current attorney general, who have not met that standard. And the only way you restore people's faith in the justice system is to put someone like that in charge of the Justice Department, and then as president, to get the hell out of the way on anything that involves criminal investigations. If a president's involved in trying to do something and put their thumb on the scales, Donald Trump says he will do, that makes people much less likely to believe our justice system can be fair.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Governor DeSantis, next one's for you. Back to Tom Fitton.
Many Republicans are concerned about the legitimacy of elections. A federal
You got
judge
good
just ruled
questions?
that Pennsylvania
Fuck? How much
must
money did
count
this guy
undated
pay?
mail-in ballots. And unlike Alabama, many states still don't require any identification to vote. What should states do
Don't
now
you
to
agree? We should
increase
have voter
election
ID.
integrity
That's
and
the ad. That's what he also says.
voter confidence for the 2024 election?
Follow Judicial Watch.
Well, Tom, thanks for the question. Thanks for what you guys do at Judicial Watch. It's really, really important. There's a lot of corruption in this government. You guys are doing a great job. What you should do for election integrity is do what we did in Florida. 20 years ago, Florida and elections was a joke. Everybody would laugh at it. I came in.
Tell
I
people they can
couple
vote and then
supervisors
arrest
from
them
South
after.
Florida.
What's the word? After the fact, but there's a certain word for it. Doesn't matter. After the fact. Changing a law, then retroactively arresting people because you changed the law. Yeah, cool. Cool, bro. Do what you did in Florida. That'll be great. Can't wait to see the Freedom Index of America drop even lower. That'd be fantastic.
They made them pull guns on these people to arrest them.
Crazy.
Shit.
Insane.
We require voter ID universal, no Zuckerbucks, no mass mail balloting, and no ballot harvesting. We even have an agency that prosecutes people for violating election laws. The result of that in both 2020 and 2022, we counted millions and millions of votes on election night, produced the results.
He literally, like, what does he even talk about? I don't even know what he's fucking talking about half the time he speaks.
No idea. He is.
Well, that also the same thing happens with Trump, to be honest.
And that is not happening throughout this country. But let me tell you this as the nominee. I think it's important. Not every state's where we need it to be. There is ballot harvesting in places like Nevada, all these places. I am not going to fight with one hand tied behind my back. I'm going to have organizations in all the swing states. If they're harvesting,
I only tie hands behind other people's backs while I torture them.
And what happens when nothing actually comes of it and you look like a fucking retard?
They'll just keep kicking the can down the road, of course.
Yep.
Where's Zuckerbucks?
They'll keep funneling
He's talking
funds.
about Zuckerbucks, bro. Oh my god.
They'll keep siphoning funds, just like Chinese government workers siphon funds from shit going downstream. Everybody takes their cut and then nothing is left. That's what's going to happen.
We are going to exploit whatever the rules are. I favor changing the rules to be like Florida and some of the other states that have done a good job. But until then, we have to do that. And then just on the Justice Department and FBI. I mean, I remember being, in Iraq working with FBI on the ground and being, and then I was a special assistant. I used to have such a high regard for these agencies. What they did to Donald Trump with the Russia collusion was one of the biggest abuses of power in the history of our country. These agencies need to be cleaned out. With me, you'll have a new FBI director on day one. We're going to clear out the DOJ, the IRS, all these places. Buckle your seatbelts. There's going to be a new sheriff in town.
Thank you. All right,
You already said that, buddy.
We're going to come back in 1 minute. China up next.
Presidential primary debate of 2023.
China.
We're going to talk about our college campuses.
Oh
Starting with
my
you, Ambassador
god.
Haley. House Republicans yesterday
It's
hauled
not
elite
China.
university presidents up to Capitol Hill to answer for the displays of
We
anti-Semitism
literally our
on
next
college campuses.
not our next episode, but the episode after that, we talk about this shit. The college
These
campuses
leaders,
in China.
including the president of Harvard, were asked
What
whether
what ballot
calling
harvest is you referring to? Okay, so there's this like movie they call like 400 Mules or something, where there's like a dog that they blur, and they blur a good dog in it for some reason. I don't know. John Oliver has something on it, and he'll tell you about why they blurred that dog. It's weird. Why would you blur the dog?
the genocide of the Jews would violate school policies against harassment and intimidation. All of them said it would depend on the context, including whether that speech veers into conduct. How do you think these schools and the rest of society should balance the imperative of free speech against the need to prevent radical activists from harassing and intimidating others?
It was disgusting to see what happened. You know, if this had been the KKK that was doing protests on those campuses, every one of those college presidents.
What state had the Confederate flag on its Capitol building until I think it was 2018?
They literally have Robert E. Lee campuses.
Was that South Carolina? Oh, where's
remember?
which state does the KKK continually hold?
You know what's
I'm
crazy
pretty
about
sure
South
they're either
Carolina?
bi-yearly
Well,
or
everyone
yearly
was hedging their bets.
KKK things. Oh, it's South Carolina. Wow.
But everyone was hedging their bets, like divesting out of slavery. South Carolina was doubling down, so like 90% of their economy was slave economy by the time the Civil War happens. They literally couldn't transition to a system. They put themselves in a position where it's like, not that they had no choice but to go to war, but like that was dumb of them to do that.
Very dumb.
Presidents would have been up in arms. This is just as bad. The idea that they would go and allow that kind of pro-Hamas protest or agree with the genocide of Jews and try and say that they needed context on that, there is no context to that. This is what we need to do to deal with it. First of all, we have got to get foreign money out of our universities. You've got Arab money, you've got Chinese money, you've got others. We need to go to every university and say, you either take foreign money or you take American money, but the days of taking both are over. The second thing we need to do...
Oh, we'll take foreign money because they actually fund us.
The second thing we need to do is Biden made a mistake not including anti-Zionism in the definition of anti-Semitism. If you don't think that Israel has a right to exist, that is anti-Semitic. We will change the definition so that every government, every school has to acknowledge the definition for what it is. The third thing is we really do need to ban TikTok once and for all. And let me tell you why. For every 30 minutes that someone watches TikTok every day, they become 17% more anti-Semitic, more pro-Hamas based on doing that.
That's so
we now know
crazy.
that 50%
I want to see the
of
formula
adults
on that one. Can we
18
get a
to 25
chalkboard out?
think that Hamas was warranted in what they did with Israel. That's a problem. When campuses also don't go and protect when they have these rallies and you've got students that are scared, we need to go to these
Changing
universities
definition
and say, if you're not
sounds
gonna
kind of
protect
like what commies do.
these students, if you're not going to acknowledge anti-Semitism, we'll take your tax-exempt status away. That'll fix it, and that'll take care of it for good.
Staying with you, Ambassador Haley. On October 6th, the
The
Israeli
college
government
campuses
thought
like
it had a
already
clear-eyed
don't
view of the threat.
like they already ban people who are critical of Israel from speaking at a lot of these colleges in the South. Like what? What else are you gonna do?
Threat from Hamas. In fact, according to the New York Times, it even had Hamas's attack plan and dismissed it as an aspiration. The Israelis were wrong.
I mean,
in
come
our
on.
country, the FBI.
If you saw that before the attack happened, you would probably say it's fake news, right?
The paragliders.
If somebody gave you all the plans and said this is an attack trying to happen, you'd laugh and go, "Look at this weird conspiracy theory this guy sent me."
Yeah, probably.
You know?
Yeah, it would sound a bit absurd paragliding in, but goddamn, did it work?
Director told the Senate panel just yesterday that he sees, quote, blinking red lights everywhere, and that the threat level has, quote, gone to a whole nother level since October 7th. Which of the threats facing our country do you worry could blindside us?
What worries me and what keeps me up at night is what happens between now and Election Day while Joe Biden's in office. That's what worries me more than anything else. But I'll tell you that America right now is acting like it's September 10th. We better remember what September 12th felt like, because it only takes one. And whether you're looking at open borders that are allowing people to come in, Iran knows the easiest way to get to America is through the southern border. And we're not doing anything.
No, Iran is in
We've
Canada.
gotta get
You
the
dumb.
foreign infiltration out of our country.
Iran gets in through Canada. I was really hoping for the close the Canadian border rhetoric.
I really wanted it to.
Whether it's in our schools, whether it's on our social media, whether it's we need to stop all foreign lobbying that's happening to members of Congress.
Nice.
And we need to
Including
start
Israeli
securing
money?
America again. Until we do that, we are going to be at threats. We've got to look at Iran, China, and Russia want to destroy the West. We have to start acting strong again. We've got to start protecting Americans. Right now, Americans don't feel protected, and we're not doing anything to strengthen it. So Joe Biden
Let's
continues
add more
to be a
police.
problem.
That will make them
That'll
feel
change
safe.
on election day.
Governor DeSantis, if China invades Taiwan, would you send American troops, as President Biden has said he would do?
We will be able to deter that from happening. I think that's the important
Not the
thing.
question.
We need
Answer a
strategy of
fucking
denial
question. This guy's
so that
such
we're
a
deterring
fucking
Xi's
weasel.
ambitions.
What if it doesn't
Just
work?
answer a
It's
fucking
gonna
question,
work.
bro.
Taiwan.
Be a normal person and answer a fucking question.
He's such a cookie cutter politician. That's the problem.
As an ally, we have longstanding American policy, and you know how that's done, and we will follow that. But here's the thing. Taiwan is important not just because of semiconductors. It's important because if China is able to break out of this first island chain, they're going to be able to dominate commerce in the entire Indo-Pacific.
No, they
won't. Will use that to export authoritarianism all around the world, including here in the United States. You look at some of these guys, actually.
Yeah, they've already broken it.
China control the first island chain. Yeah, dude. All the other they're gonna take over Taiwan, and everyone's gonna bend the knee. What the fuck are you talking about? What a
Someone that are
fucking
supporting
idiot, bro.
Nikki on Wall Street, they grovel to China. Anytime something happens, they got to go do that. So they already exert a huge amount of authority over this country. It will get a lot worse. So deterring China's ambitions is the #1 national security task that I will do as president, and we will succeed. The 21st century needs to be an American century. We cannot let it be a Chinese century.
Mr.
We've already heard that
Ramaswamy,
line.
I'm coming to you
I'll
next.
be clear on the same issue, if
Okay,
I may.
I'm coming to you next on Taiwan. You said if you want to stop Xi from invading Taiwan, quote, let's open a branch of the NRA in Taiwan and put an AR-15 in the hands of every family and train them how to use it. That will give Xi a taste of American exceptionalism, end quote. The National Police of Taiwan announced a zero-gun policy last year. Is this a serious policy proposal? And if it isn't, why do you keep repeating it?
Well, it's part of a broader deterrence strategy. And so I think I'm going to respectfully disagree with Ron here. I think the next U.S. president needs to be crystal clear that at least for the foreseeable future, the U.S. will absolutely defend Taiwan. And it is with that clarity that we actually...
Didn't you previously say that you'd let them have Taiwan?
I don't even know at this point. He's so weird.
He said that on like his first appearance.
I feel like I remember that, but I can't explicitly remember.
He said we're going to copy the semiconductor thing, so we don't need Taiwan. And then
That's right. He
won't be
did.
an issue.
Yeah, he did. What a dickhead. How does anybody take this guy seriously?
Because they're fascist and he's fascist. So they love him.
We need to get on side in our relationship with India, take it to the next level. India has to be able to block the Andaman Sea, which is where China gets most of its Middle Eastern oil supplies. That's critical. I also do believe the Second Amendment is a critical way of preventing
everything he has said
is
is like how he's going to destroy global economy.
It's worked in America. Why wouldn't it work in Taiwan? So it is part of a broader strategy. But I do think that we need to be specific about our deterrence strategy, or else Xi Jinping is just encroaching by the day. And the reason why we're not doing it for China, I want to be crystal clear, is because we're scared. Why are we scared? Because we depend on them for our modern way of life. Why do we depend on them for our modern way of life? It's because Nikki Haley's latest friends like Larry Fink have created commingled economies with BlackRock telling Exxon and Chevron they can't drill here, while being a shareholder of PetroChina, not applying.
Don't you
those
have
same
like Chinese
in
investors
China.
in your
So it is
company?
an
Aren't you like, don't you own like Chinese companies, bro?
I don't even know.
Didn't we like look at a bunch of shady shit about his companies?
You might have, but I don't think we did.
They really don't want Nikki to be ahead of them, do they?
I don't think so.
Economic dependence on China that makes us scared. If that were a Russian spy balloon, we'd have shot it down in an instant. If that were a Russian spy base in Cuba, we'd be actually going hard on them instead of turning the other way as we are with China. So it comes back down to
we're kind of in a military conflict with
Russia. We cannot depend on them for
way.
our pharmaceuticals, our semiconductors, and people have been lied to for a long time. Our own military, the F-35 jets that we make in this country, depend on China, and it's going to take an outsider to fix that broken establishment.
Thank you, Mr. Ramaswamy. Ambassador Haley, would you like to respond?
I mean, when it comes to China and Taiwan, the one way that we keep China
You need to realize if you insult somebody, it gives them more time.
Yeah.
That we win in Ukraine, that we protect our friends, but also let China know that they'll be held to pay if they go into Taiwan. They need to know that there is going to be a force that's going to go against them. And they need to know it's not just going to be the United States.
AUKUS.
That is why we need to build our partnerships with India, with South Korea, with Japan, with the Philippines, with Australia. We need to start pulling that
Just say
alliance
AUKUS.
together. And the first way we do that is we need to make sure that on day one, we look at the fact, if China pulled the rug out from under us tomorrow, would we be ready? Think about what happened during COVID. Everybody told you to wear a mask. They were made in China. Everybody told you to take a COVID test. They were made in China. Everybody went and, I mean, everything that happened, if you go to the drugstore, all those medicines are made in China. We have to make sure that we are not relying on China for anything related to our national security, which means let's start focusing on doing deals with our friends now.
Thank you, Ambassador. Governor Christie, I'd like you to weigh in on that. And do you think arming every family in Taiwan with an AR-15 is a plausible policy?
Based.
You know, I don't.
I'm
think
all of
we have
Australia with
constitutional
AR-15s.
authority over Taiwan to give them a Second Amendment. I think they can only do that for themselves. But look, I want to be really clear. Once again, I want to play the role of actually answering your question, which is if China went after Taiwan, you're absolutely right. I would, as president, have us go militarily and defend them. Secondly, I'm not afraid, based upon those economic relationships, to do that, because these economic relationships mean nothing. Nothing. If what's going to happen is that China is going to come and act in that region of the world however they see fit. It's not right. And I'll say this about what I heard from Nikki earlier. She said that Donald Trump was good on trade.
Vivek and Ron couldn't answer the question. They had to do some populist bullshit that's a non-answer. Like, of course, every time. But these people are like, oh, we actually understand what government is. Ron DeSantis still trying to figure out how to be a fucking human being.
Yeah.
He wasn't. And the proof that he wasn't good on trade with China is that all he did was impose tariffs, which raised the prices for every American. You want to know what has contributed to inflation in this country? Yes, it's more government spending. Yes, it's the fact that we're printing too much money. Absolutely. But it is also the increase in prices that were driven by Donald Trump's tariffs. And one last thing, you can't say he was good on trade because he didn't change one Chinese policy in the process. He failed on it.
Thank you, Governor Christie. Governor DeSantis, switching subjects here. For 15 years, Republicans have been burned by politicians' promises to repeal Obamacare. Trump repeatedly promised to replace it with, quote, something terrific, but failed to propose anything. You're now promising something better, but Florida has more uninsured people than almost any other state. Why should Americans
Florida has like the
trust
lowest
you
mental health
more than
treatment,
any other?
right? Gavin Newsom pointed that out.
Yeah. Does it actually?
Yeah, it's like it's like the third lowest. It's like really bad.
Very cool. Very cool, Florida. Very cool.
The Republicans who've disappointed them on this issue.
Well, I think we have millions of Americans who do not have access to affordable health care. And it's not just getting some type of card and Medicaid, because a lot of times they don't even get access to doctors. You actually get access to care. The other thing is we have millions and millions of people who don't have access to good doctors and good hospitals. Florida did not expand Obamacare. I think the states that did that, I think are struggling financially. So that, yes, we declined to do that. And I don't think that that was the right policy to do. But we are going to go after the cost. You're paying too much for everything. We've actually addressed this in Florida in some ways, but you need price transparency. You need to hold the pharmaceuticals accountable. You need to hold big insurance and big government accountable. And we're going to get that done. I think it's very, very important economically. I think it's very, very important for the country that we get that done.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so I actually wanted to, this is a very personal issue to our family. I wanted to take actually a minute to recognize my wife who's here today.
Weird.
Badass surgeon. She did a bunch of cases with cancer survivors earlier today, flew here to be tonight. We'll be back at 7 a.m. in Columbus, Ohio tomorrow, taking care of those patients in the OR. And on the front lines of people who have actually not swallowed for years. And here's something that's awful that's happening in our healthcare system. They'll pay for anything like feeding tubes, doctors to be pill pushers, but for the procedures that can actually make these patients better, we have a broken healthcare system that doesn't pay for it. My wife, Apoorva, in many cases, does not get paid for those procedures. She does them anyway because it's the right thing to do. But that does not work system-wide. So here's the answer. Okay. We don't have a healthcare system in this country. We have a sick care system. We need to start having diverse insurance options in a competitive marketplace that cover actual health, preventative medicine.
Hold on, is this the first actual policy he's produced?
Bro,
is this?
We literally already have competitive insurance.
But
what are you talking about?
Is this the first policy he's actually tried to actually?
He's trying to ANCAP it to be. We need to rely on the free market, not insurance. And it's like, bro, we literally do. We literally, that's what happens. That's how you literally describing the system right now, my guy. You're an idiot.
Size, lifestyle, and otherwise. And here's how we deliver that. End the antitrust exemptions for health insurance companies.
Wow.
That's where the competitive marketplace begins. That's
Next
crony
question's for you.
capitalism, and that's the answer.
Okay, through Operation Warp Speed,
Oh my
the Trump
god.
administration and private industry.
Remove antitrust. You fucking moron.
On insurance
developed a COVID
companies.
vaccine.
Oh
in
my
record time.
god.
The program protected the drug companies from virtually all lawsuits over vaccine injuries. The government has a program to compensate for such harm, but critics
Oh my
say it is a
God.
black hole of bureaucracy.
I'm so glad we didn't talk
12,000
about
claims
abortion,
filed,
though.
10% decided.
Yeah.
only 8
I would
payouts
much
so
rather
far,
have
and
vaccines cause autism rhetoric again than abortion stuff.
Yeah.
forum with no right to counsel, no hearings, no appeals. Mr. Trump says he's very proud of Warp Speed. Should he be?
Well, this question
proud of every
specifically
policy
on
he did.
liability goes
Yeah.
back to actually Reagan. And Reagan is a president who I admire. Many of us do. I think that
Weird.
reviving that spirit is in many ways going to be good for this country in so many ways.
Whoa,
But
whoa,
one
what
Oh,
are
of
yeah,
you
the
it
gonna
did
do?
so
You're gonna
well the
revive
first
his
way around.
spirit.
special
Did
Is
so
this
well
with
the
some of your
first way around.
Hindustan rituals? I don't like this.
form of lobbying to say that one kind of manufacturer, a vaccine manufacturer, cannot be sued for their product liability. So I have pledged, it is part of my legislative agenda, we will repeal that, just like we will repeal every other form of crony capitalism. People who have been harmed by those vaccines
You're a crony
deserve
capitalist.
accountability. They cannot be forgotten Americans. And I think one of the top lessons we learned from that COVID pandemic is that free speech in this country is most important in those alleged times of emergency. If we had been allowed to openly debate the merits of those vaccines, they would have been never mandated in the way
What do
that
you
they
mean?
were. And in general, I don't
They were always going to be mandated.
Bro, you couldn't open. Are you saying we couldn't openly debate? Are you kidding me? There was no. Oh, we weren't allowed to talk about the vaccines. We weren't allowed to debate them. Where?
It's the only thing that was going on.
Yeah,
think that we should want
this gaslighting that
the
they
only
convince
thing,
people
yeah,
that they get banned over freedom of
the only
speech.
thing that happened really was
Excuse me.
the lobbying money was too strong and paid so much that the other side was drowned out. That's realistically that's what happened. And on top of that, they were getting banned for being QAnon nutbags.
Yeah,
For the most part.
exactly.
For the most part. Because like this is the big thing, right? Most of the people who get banned
People literally have
were
built careers
anti-vaxxers
out of
before.
it.
Hold on. These people were anti-vaxxers before. They were anti-vaxxers then, and they're anti-vaxxers now. There's a very big difference between people who didn't want to take the COVID shots and anti-vaxxers, but they overlapped. Right? There were some people who didn't like the idea
Anti-vaxxers
of.
tend to be left wing too.
Yes, they do. So it was more the people on the right wing
Well,
that didn't want to
libs.
be mandated into taking the shot, right? Coerced, if you will, because that's what it is. It's we're going to take away your livelihood unless you take this shot. It's coercion. So that I think was the big issue more than anything else. So yeah, it's that. I think the coercion, the mass coercion is probably a bigger argument than anything that these people are going to say. But we'll see.
I don't know.
capitalism and democracy to share the same bed anymore. It's time for a clean divorce. Let companies be companies, but I don't like the crony capitalism. This dates back a long time in both parties. And I think that we need to end the lobbying. And I personally believe that if you have been working in the government, you should not lobby that government for 10 years. If you have been a government elected official doing deals with companies, be they Boeing or be they pharmaceutical companies, you should not join the board of that company for 10 years after.
Okay, I think that you can join the board and be a part of the company because it's just another job. Being a lobbyist is a very different thing.
Mm-hmm.
Being a lobbyist for a company that you used to deal with in government to then lobby the government that you were in where you know people is dodgy as fuck. So lobbying, again, like I always say, money and lobbying should be banned from politics. It will solve so many issues.
Dude sounds like he's proposing monopoly house rules.
The former chairman of the FDA, the leader commissioner of the FDA, ended up on the board of Pfizer. Nikki Haley did deals with Boeing, ends up on the board of Boeing. I don't care if it's a Republican or a Democrat. We need some basic principles that end the corruption in government. That's how we got the health insurance exemptions. That's how we got the pharmaceutical product liability exemptions. We end the corruption.
We need a reckoning for what this government did during COVID-19. That includes the mRNA shots. They put it out. It was experimental. People wanted it. Then the government started trying to mandate it.
There you go,
you
Jack.
don't have a right to put food on your table if you don't take an mRNA shot that was under emergency use. They tried to take nurses away. Now in Florida, we blocked that. We provided protections for everybody so that they wouldn't lose their job. You also have the FDA approving an mRNA shot for 6-month-old babies. There was
Notice how he's whinging more about the vaccine itself, not so much the mandates.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he mentioned it, sure, because at the point, but he's more harping on the vaccine itself because that's where the argument sits. That's where they want to hear the points.
There's no data to support that. They're doing it because big pharma will make money. So I'm going to go in there, CDC, NIH, FDA. We're going to
Ron
clean house. There's
DeSantis
going to be a
hates
reckoning
capitalism.
because right now nobody's been held accountable for any of the damage, and they're going to try to do it again. When I'm president, this will never happen to our country ever again.
Thank you, Governor DeSantis. And we will be right back in just a few
Another
moments.
break.
Oh, bro. Oh
Primary
my God.
debate
I'm
here in
surprised.
Tuscaloosa, Alabama.
No abortion.
We're
Please,
going
no
to do
abortion.
one final question
Please,
before
not
closing
abortion.
statements, and we want to get you all in.
Please, not
So we're going to
abortion.
give you
Please, not
45
abortion.
seconds for this last one. Governor Christie, we're going to start with you. Which former president would you draw inspiration from for your own
Thank God
presidency?
it's a bullshit
and why?
question.
I would.
Do we care?
Yeah, I want to hear. I want to hear them say President Trump, or he's going to
Reagan.
mention Thomas Jefferson. He's going to mention Alexander Hamilton.
It'll be
Ronald.
Reagan.
He's Ronald Reagan. They're going to be like, no,
Vivek
I
will
wanted
be
to pick Reagan.
Draw inspiration from Ronald Reagan. In the last
He got
year,
it
I've
first.
spent a lot of time writing a book about President Reagan that's going to be called "What Would Reagan Do?" That book's going to come out early in 2024. And what I learned more than anything else
looks like this
was
was
that
all
Ronald
about
Reagan
promoting
was
a
a
book.
slave.
Your entire campaign. All this time, you're a regular Maureen Williamson.
the truth. Ronald Reagan stood up for the truth, whether it was popular or unpopular at the moment. In 1964, he stood up against the John
Around
Birch Society
Contra?
when it
Was that standing up for the truth when he weaseled out from liability there?
was very unpopular in the party to
the
do
North.
it, but he would not
Fuck, I'm so tired.
put up with our party standing for lies and deceit, even it gave him political progress. That's the kind of president that I will be, and I would draw that inspiration from the 40th president of the United States, Ronald Reagan.
Ambassador Haley.
Well, I have to say, too, I think George Washington, when you look at the responsibilities he had of how do you go and take on this great American experiment and make sure that the people are protected. And they always knew that government was intended to secure the rights and freedoms of the people. It was never meant to be all things to all people. And then you look at Abraham Lincoln and you look at the challenges and you look at the division that happened in our country and the ability to lead in spite of the loud noises and say, what will bring out the best in people to get us to go forward is always something that's important. And I think we need that now more than ever.
It failed. You picked two guys.
Reagan, Washington, Lincoln, excellent. One of the guys I'll take inspiration from is Calvin Coolidge. Now, people don't talk about
Weird
him a lot.
one.
He's one
Weird
of the few
one. Okay,
presidents
so
that
this is
got
a
almost
libertarian
everything.
thing.
Okay.
The last guys,
He
I mean, they're kind of Vivek's kind of getting fucked here. He's got it. Nobody said Eisenhower. I'm shocked.
The proper role of the federal government under the Constitution. We need to restore the U.S. Constitution as the centerpiece of our national life. And that requires a president who understands the original understanding of the Constitution, who has a good sense of the Bill of Rights, and who knows how we've gone off track with this massive fourth branch of government.
Ron DeSantis can't even tie his tie properly. Why would you want to vote for him for president? If he misses a step in his tie, how's he going to perform under pressure in the presidency? I've been waiting for one of them to miss a step in their tie and fuck it up. And it's happened. It's finally happened. Unkempt.
I mean, look at Trump.
This administrative state, which is imposing its will on us and is being weaponized against us. So
imagine someone has to look over you.
Sorry, go ahead.
Someone has to look over you, right? How do you not miss the fact that you're not in a full Windsor knot? It's like a basic fucking thing. Like,
okay, so
honestly,
you know the movie
that's such a miss.
Spaceballs?
Yeah.
You know the Mog?
No.
The man dog. Barf.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I never heard
That's
it
the
called
type
that
of creature
before.
Donald Trump is.
So Silent Cal knew the proper role of the federal government. The country was in great shape when he was president of the United States, and we can learn an awful lot from Calvin
Can't
Coolidge.
even tie his tie.
Over to you, Mr. Ramaswamy, to conclude our history lesson.
Sure. Well, I will say Ron picked it.
Even
Johnny
Vivek,
Appleseed.
even Vivek can get this right. How hard is it?
A president who was born on July 4th. I'll pick one who died on July 4th.
Nice.
It's Thomas Jefferson. He was 33 years old when he wrote the Declaration of Independence. And you all are sitting on a swivel chair today. He invented the swivel chair while he was at it, while writing that Declaration of Independence. That's that founding spirit that we miss, that we're the pioneers. We're the explorers, the guy who sent him out on the Lewis and Clark
genocidal maniac.
And I think a lot about what Thomas Jefferson say to today's Republican Party.
Gen 1, though, before it became something else.
Yeah.
It was still colonial, but it became associated with the Confederacy and expanding slavery. I mean, not like he had qualms about not extending slavery, you know.
Yeah. Right, but I think it is one of the interesting ideological discussions we're having in our party is freedom of speech. You get to express your mind freely, no matter how heinous the opinion. Thomas Jefferson understood that.
All
He's
right,
an
thank
inspiration.
you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Ramaswamy. And believe it or not, it's time for closing statements. Governor Christie, would you like to begin?
Sure, thank you. I want you all to kind of picture in your minds Election Day. You'll all be heading to the polls to vote, and that's something that Donald Trump will not be able to do because he will be convicted of. No one up here is going to call you Donald Trump anymore. We're going to call you Donald Duck. Felonies before then, and his right to vote will be taken away. You know, look, here's the bottom line. You can boo about it all you like and continue to deny reality. But if we deny reality as a party, we're going to have 4 more years of Joe Biden. When my colleagues here raised their hands and said they would support him, even if he was a convicted felon, the bigger problem with it is they were confirming the lies he's told to the American people. If you're too timid to take on Trump, believe me, others will see that timidity. Xi, Putin, and the Ayatollah, the border crossers on the southern border, and the criminals in our streets. They'll sense that timidity, and they'll take advantage of that failure of leadership. We need to get back to an old American idea that every person is responsible for their own conduct, even a president. I'll be the kind of president who has the humility that knows that you work for the people. It's not the other way around.
Hey, didn't Reagan weasel out of Iran-Contra?
Yeah, he sure did.
I want to earn your vote.
Thank you, Governor Christie. Mr. Ramaswamy?
I'll use this to just address a topic we didn't talk about tonight, but I think is one of the most important topics that needs to be discussed.
Abortion.
That is this climate change agenda that is shackling this country like a set of handcuffs.
Okay,
I said it in the first debate, and I stand by it. The climate change agenda is a hoax because it has nothing to do with the climate. That's what we have to see.
Think this.
98% reduction in the climate disaster-related deaths in the last century. 8 times as many people are going to die of cold temperatures this year than warm ones. Yet against that backdrop, there's an issue coming up in Iowa. It's crazy to Iowa farmers. I met Kim Junker, Kathy Stockdale, and other farmers who are about to have a carbon capture pipeline built across their land using eminent domain to do it. That's unconstitutional and it's wrong. And if you thought COVID was bad, what's coming with this climate agenda is far worse. We should not be bending the knee to this new religion. That is what it is. It is a substitute for a modern religion. We are flogging ourselves and losing our modern way of life bowing to this new god of climate, and that will end on my watch. It's the most critical issue that's coming up. Thank you.
He wants to become Xi Jinping and pollute the world even more.
He just can't shut the fuck up. That's his problem.
Nope.
Thank you very much. Our country is in chaos. We see it on the southern border.
Boo.
We see it on our streets in our cities. We see it on college campuses. We feel it with our economy, with inflation and with debt. And we feel it around the world with wars in Europe and within the Middle East. We have to stop the chaos,
Ukraine.
but you can't
What other
defeat
wars?
Democrat chaos with Republican chaos. And that's what Donald Trump gives us. My approach is different. No drama, no vendettas, no whining. I envision an America where we're protected from illegal immigration and Chinese infiltration. I envision an America where we unleash our economy and we reject socialism. But more importantly, I envision an America where we rediscover our national purpose and
Socialism
our
is
pride.
a cocktail
I
that
crush
never
Joe
should be
Biden
tried.
in November. And if you
None
give
of
me
those
this
ingredients-
chance, we will crush him in November and take our
Thank
country
you,
back.
Governor.
Go to Nikki
Thank you,
Haley.com.
Ambassador Haley.
That was a fine.
Yeah, she
outro.
just summarized everything that she said.
Yeah, it was
She actually
fine.
clearly has an agenda, unlike the other two idiots.
Yes. Yeah.
And then Boss Nass is up there going, bro.
We are in jeopardy of being the first generation of Americans to leave to our kids and
What?
grandkids in America less prosperous and
Did
less
you break
free
your
than
mic?
the one we inherited. I refuse to sit
Oh,
idly
come
by
on.
and let that happen. But we got to have people that are going to be willing to fight the people
We
that
have
are doing
internet.
this
You
to us.
literally can't be less free. You literally can't. We have a whole new freedom that has been like, what do you mean? Soon we're going to be going to space and shit, you know, and you're going to have like the economic freedom to do show, right? With
Yeah.
like space cargo and stuff, and you're going to invest in moon crypto, right? Like, what are you talking about? Less free? Suck my dick.
You can't be these establishment Republicans that just cave at the first sign of opposition. I'll fight for you.
Sure
we
you
also
will.
need to win again as a party. Yes, win the election, which we've struggled
heard
to
this
do,
already, buddy.
but also win on these big issues. And nobody
Yeah,
has
this right
defeated these
here.
people
Now, if we're
more than
talking
what I
about
have.
who would beat Biden if he ran against him, I don't see Vivek being able to do it. He's annoying. Ron
Yeah.
DeSantis is unlikable, right? Nikki has that. There's the something about that accent that's very comforting. Like Bill Clinton had this as well, right?
Mm.
You know, she is just seems more personable.
You wouldn't
And
want
I think she
to
would
throw
beat Biden
yourself.
if she ran against him.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to throw yourself off a building being in a room with her.
Yeah, I think Chris Christie could beat Biden as well, but he's not going to get the nomination. He's only
No.
here to keep Trump out
Yeah, pretty much.
because that's what the establishment needs, and he's going to sell a book.
Yeah.
A DeSantis, Nikki. Well, we used
Done
to
in-
joke that Nikki desperately wants to be vice president. We literally were joking about that, right? And like we literally have a video called "Nikki Haley is desperate to be vice president" that we put out, right? But now
also,
she's become a front runner.
DeSantis would be the worst option to have as president too. The guy's a psycho. He's just a psycho.
The state of Florida on issue after issue. We have won and we have won big, and that's what we'll do for you. We also need
Yeah, it kind of lags at this point sometimes. It just
It's when you
almost
pause
done.
and unpause, it can lag.
Yeah. It's almost done though.
leadership. Leadership is not about doing what's easy.
Dude, imagine if the first female president is a Republican.
Mm-hmm.
It would break the Democrats. They would lose their fucking mind.
I mean, John McCain grabbed a female VP pick just because it was trendy. I mean, that's what Kamala was. She literally, she literally was the John McCain pick.
Yeah.
It's about being willing to set out that
Thank you.
vision, knowing they're going to shoot arrows at you. They're going to come at you. I will
Thank
fight
you.
the good fight. I will keep the faith and I will finish the race. Thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you, all of you.
I missed what he said because we were too busy talking to chat, but I also
Who
don't care.
cares? It's the same shit we've heard him spew every fucking time.
Okay.
Nothing that he said is different.
I like Nikki more.
Yeah.
Chris Christie, I like that he was combative this one. He was kind of too quiet last one. Still, Vivek, I think, still declining for me. He did win me with one thing he said, though. I don't remember what it was, but it was like a meme thing that I was like, oh, he's winning me back. I don't remember what it was, though.
I think Nikki still, she just didn't have to do anything. They were just so petulant.
Yeah,
you just
children.
had to stand
Literal
there
children.
and let Chris Christie dad them, and she wins.
And we saw that last debate; they were teaming up together.
Yeah, and she's very pro-Israel though, which is a little concerning.
Yeah, but she's also like both of them are kind of establishment Republicans. Well, DeSantis is kind of an outsider Trump MAGA candidate, and Vivek is from the Ayn Rand Institute type people.
Who knows? Who knows? Anyway, I am goddamn tired. So I think we'll leave it there.
Too simple. Sometimes naive.